Hold up. Still out there?
You going back in?
There's still men out there. God damn. When I go home, people ask me, "Hey, Hoot, why do you do it, man? Why? Some kind of war junkie?" I won't say a goddamn word. Why? They won't understand. They won't understand why we do it. They won't understand it's about the men next to you. And that's it. That's all it is.
Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, #1 listener-supported radio, the printing press for freedom at a time when freedom is needed the most.
Join me at Revolution Radio, Studio B, at 11 a.m. on Saturday for Free Association, when we take a look at philosophy, spirituality, psychology, social issues, and geopolitics. It's every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern on Studio B at freedomslips.com.
Here's the deal with SEO on Wix.
What is going on here? I demand an explanation.
We work for a highly funded yet unofficial government agency.
An intelligence organization that fears intelligence, historically not awesome.
The United States is a democratic nation. Here the people rule. We build no walls to keep them in, nor organize any system of police to keep them mute.
Freedom isn't free at all, but it comes with the highest of costs.
We have you, the listeners, and the hosts at
Revolution Radio,
for allowing us to bring you a platform of free speech.
Right now, it's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, clock's run out. Time's up.
Wind is blowing cold and dark. On the road and no way out. The broken hearts, the smoking gun. On the run. On the run.
Poisoning their brainwashed minds. Oh Lord, yeah.
Friday night.
Politicians hide themselves away. They only started the war. Why should they
on the wall? Who's the fairest of them all?
Time will tell them they have power and minds, making war just for fun.
Track 24 reporting on uncontrollable low frequency beat. We can't seem to locate it.
Track 14 trying to maintain proper stabilization on this channel without creating a situation of overmodulation.
Let's go down, storm tonight. Let's go down, storm line. Let's go down, storm my bell.
Into the Microcosm is on the app. Epic Journeyman. Are you there?
I am here.
Excellent.
Aloha, everybody.
Aloha. Watch out. Jesus. Man, it's like I'm in a time warp. It's like I'm on Groundhog Day or something. Every time you come on board, I see this big old Simone with a orange surfboard almost takes your head off. You'd think it's like I don't know, it's like I'm reliving the same day over and over. I don't know, man, it's nonstop. It's a nonstop rocket ride through the reality. Ladies and gentlemen, somehow, some way you found it in the desert of mediocrity. You found the pearl. It's into the microcosm. It's Revolution Radio. It's freedomslips.com. It's coming to you from the Independent Broadcast Network. The torch of freedom on the internet. Go on over there. IBN247.com. I stumbled and I stumbled. I said IBN247.com. Go on over there, check it out. There's a chat room there. Come on over to Into the Microcosm, Jimmy Jean Strike Zone. Got a chat room over there. Come on over to Revolution Radio. There's a Matrix chat room over there. There's people chatting everywhere because the chatting is nonstop. Because the onslaught is nonstop. It's one thing after another, man. Epic Journeyman. I can't even... You know, you're one of the luckiest dudes. One of the luckiest. Because you're over there on the islands. It's almost like you're not part of America, and who knows? Maybe you're not. You see that new document I sent to you that they signed? The North American Union?
Now it's a mambo, mambo Italiano, a mambo, mambo Italiano, go Joe. You mixed up Siciliano, or you calabrese, do the mambo like crazy. And a mambo, don't want a tarantella, a mambo, no more a mozzarella, a mambo Italiano, try an enchilada with a fish.
Hey, Goomba.
Hey.
What's happening, man?
Not too much, just chilling out over here.
I know. Well, watch out. Bridget Bardot is about to squat. Hold up. Everybody, look away. All right. Look away. Bridget Bardot is on the scene. Listen, I just want to say, John Nelson in the chat said that Epic Journeyman should not be allowed to say aloha anymore because he's culturally robbing the Samoans. And he's culturally appropriation when you say aloha, Epic Journeyman. That's what they're saying in the chat room. Now, I don't know if it's true.
Aloha means goodbye, too, man. Keep your howly ass off the island.
You say hello, and you say hello, and I say goodbye. Hey, speaking of that.
Just kidding, John.
Hey, I know John has been here. Listen, let me ask you this. Now, tomorrow night, Saturday night show. And, of course, we're not here on Revolution Radio on Saturday night, but we will be on the Independent Broadcast Network tomorrow night for our Saturday night show. And we're going to be doing a show tomorrow. We're going to be taking a look at the Fab Four, okay, because they were an instrumental part of the social revolution and some of the cultural programming that was going on. And, you know, everyone's, you know, there's been shows on the Beatles. It's not that. But what it is number one, Paul, all right? Number two, the infatuation with things in reverse with the Beatles. And so Rockin' Rio and I and the boys, we're going to get down and dirty, and we're going to get all up in there. Because I heard about this guy. Now, what is this guy's name? Is it Hal or Mal, the guy that hung with Paul all the time that you never heard about? He's like his shadow. He was everywhere. He was like he wrote "Fool on the Hill" or some shit.
Oh yeah, he wrote a bunch of stuff.
That's what I mean. Yeah, there's this guy that no one even knew about, and Paul was trying to give him some money. He was trying to give him credit for some of the songs that were the Beatles, and the corporations that was the Beatles was having none of that. And that dude got shot, ladies and gentlemen, in Los Angeles for waving a BB gun at the cops when they showed up at his house. They literally killed the dude who kept a diary of every day he was with Paul McCartney.
Yeah, there's it was Mal Evans.
Mal, right?
Mal Evans.
Yeah.
Yes.
See?
Mal Evans, and of course, you know, the whole thing surrounding Brian Epstein too. Right? So
Epstein.
Everybody forgets about Brian Epstein, who is the manager.
Well, that'll have everybody up in arms because of his last name.
The murder of Brian Epstein.
Brian Epstein. Ladies and gentlemen, don't get scared. It's Into the Microcosm. And tonight, got a very special show planned for you. But before we get there, later on, we're going to talk about mirrors in a bit here. And later on, we're going to be talking about the company. That's right. You know, the company, man. The company. And, you know, don't say the three letters. All right? But we're going to be talking about a little bit later, because once that exists, you know, how do you get rid of it? It's like something that's grown bigger than the government itself. You might even call it the deep state. But before we get to the deep state, let's just talk about the regular state. Now, Bruce, earlier, now, for a couple.
Hey man, where's my intro song?
Well,
I mean, this is scandalous. I feel like what did I just crawl across the border with no passport here?
No, but you know what, man? When that one bass player joined the band, joined Metallica, you know, when the first bass player Cliff got killed and the second guy joined, the three dudes who were in the original Metallica, they would always fuck with the drummer. I mean, with Jason Newsted, because he was the new guy, you know, on the block. We're not doing that to you though, man. I'm just saying, it's just that. I mean, I want to use Secret Agent Man, but we've done Secret Agent Man in reverse, and it's got devil shit in it, you know. And then it's like I tried to give you the 21st century schizoid man, but then you push back on it. Then I went away bewildered, and I tried to come up with a new song. I found some
Bryan Adams, dude. He's Canadian. He's a Bryan Adams song.
Bryan Adams. All right, yeah. Well, actually, you know, I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind a little Bryan Adams. How about some Cuts Like a Knife? No, 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 no. How's that sound, Bruce? Oh yeah, you can just come.
I mean, if you want to do that, go ahead. But maybe I should just pick up.
How about the lumberjack song?
If it were, I would just hit like the first 30 seconds of Peter Gabriel's "Salisbury Hill" would be a great intro for me.
Supernaut in the chat says "Muffin Man" by Frank Zappa.
How about Dental Floss Farm by Frank Zappa? It's going to move to Montana and start a Dental Floss Farm. Got to get me some miniature horses. Well, listen, I think, you know, Canadian rocker Bryan Adams has what it takes. From the Talamanca Mountains. Driving home this evening. See? See, man, it's got balls. You want Salisbury Hill? Sounds like you're twinkling in from a distance, but maybe, who knows? Maybe you are. Maybe you are. Maybe you're twinkling in from just the other side of my mirror. Mirror in the bathroom. Hey, listen. What the hell is going on? Listen, we told people like 2 years ago. We said, listen, we noticed a trend with these banks during the pandemic, and that was that most of the branches eliminated in-house dealings, so you could only use the ATMs. There was only one bank close to you in the region where you could actually go and physically cash checks and do transactions to get your bills and get your money. But when you would go to those banks, there'd be long lines. And so when I went to this Bank of America last 2 years ago during the pandemic, I brought it up on the show and I said, you know, this is what it's going to look like someday when we go to the bank and our money's not there or we can't get it out. And there won't be anybody to yell at in the branches because there'll only be one place where you could actually go to the bank, and in that place there'll be literally hit squads out front with bulletproof vests and, you know, AK-47s. So it was funny because just the other day I see this video of some people trying to get their money down at Bank of America, and they were all, this one guy's on the phone, he's recording everybody, there's people milling around, walking back and forth, all nervous, and this guy's walking back and forth going, where's my $1,300, man? Where's my $1,300, man? And nobody knows what's going on with my money, man. And he goes, I went up to the counter, man, and they told me to call customer service, man, and I called customer service, man, and I didn't get any answers, man. Where's my $1,300? And all these people are walking around looking at the ATM and stuff, people are getting agitated, and I'm going, what the fuck? And then, so there's a big issue with banks, because you know what? The very same day that happened, also, the United States of America Corporation hit its debt limit. The next day, all of a sudden, all the stuff that Bruce had been talking about for the last couple of years, from a financial perspective, and the Greek haircutting of America, and the robbing of these trillions of dollars set aside for the retirement, some of these baby boomers. And now all of a sudden, here comes Janet Yellen doing her bit, and she's robbing pension funds, Bruce. She's robbing pension funds.
Yeah.
So tell everybody, because I don't think people have heard about this, man. This is the kind of shit that slips by every day while you're over there, I didn't want to say what you're over there doing, but let me just say you're missing it because you're caught up in all this other bullshit and noise that's going on. And there's big things that are happening, documents that are getting signed in the background, things that are going on right now in front of everybody's face, and nobody's seeing it. Everybody's too worried about what Elon Musk is saying. Okay, I'm going to bring another document about the North American Union to the table in a few minutes. Bruce, go ahead. What's Janet Yellen doing?
Well, today they invoked what are called special measures. Okay, now anytime you hear special and measures together related to the government, it's not good. You can literally change special for war. So it's like a War Measures Act. It's a suspension of the normal rights we have. Okay, and if anybody's noticed, we're kind of slipping into quiet bureaucratic martial law. And we have been, in my opinion, since 2001, since the Patriot Act and the National Defense Authorization Act went live. And it's just been getting worse and worse and worse. In my opinion, this all ties into the fleecing of America, right? So the decision to bring America down was made, I'd say, shortly after the Cold War ended, which is further affirmation that everything that goes on is just a stage play, man. Okay, so they started in 2001, hit them two towers. Anyways, let's flash forward to what's going on. So Janet Yellen has gotten congressional approval, or she's invoked a special measure. So I guess all of these departments have various forms of war measure, right? So, Department of Defense, the U.S. government corporation itself has a War Measures Act. So does Canada. But what she did is she rewrote or suspended certain contributions to two bureaucratic pensions. One is a civil service disabilities pension, and so the federal government contributes to it on a monthly basis, and they've suspended those payments and they're diverting them to payment of outstanding exterior debt. Okay, so these are exterior debtors. Read China here. And the other one they hit up was the postal union. They have a special pension as well.
Well,
now when you go ahead.
These are
comment at will, guys.
Yeah, no, these are millions of people's funds that are counting on these funds being there. I think another one was the G Fund, I think was what you were talking about, these are voluntary contributions made outside of the monies that you're getting from the government, where you're making your own contributions out of your own pocket into this fund. And so ladies and gentlemen, so you can get a general idea about what Bruce is talking about, what they do is they play games with this money and they make these investments. And when the money that they make on the investments goes back into the retirement. When they take money out, they use it and they invest, and then they make money off the investment and pay the money back into the thing. So there's a flow where it goes back and forth, back and forth. Well,
like
now,
union dues.
yeah. But now what they're doing is they're eliminating the flow, and they're saying, you know what, we're going to go ahead and invest the monies that we're getting from the people, but we're not going to give the people any of that money right now. We're going to use that to pay minute by minute this amount of money to keep us from hitting the debt ceiling. So they're trying to they're like the kid with his finger hole in the dike or whatever.
But the thing is, like we actually hit it on the ceiling already, right? So all it is these are the things that it's like looking for money in the couch cushion. So if our debts suddenly had to be paid today, that'd be the deal. But what they do is they divert those funds. So you still get your pension fund, paid out if you're a pensioner and all that stuff. But the things that Jimmy's talked about and Bruce talked about, where they reinvest things into these things, it's like a little bit of capital they have on hand that they float in to do this all the time. So it extends it to like June. So, but after June, I mean, that's it. You got to pay the credit card, right? I mean, it's money we've already spent. It's something that's already been. It's not like something we are negotiating here. You have to pay it. It's actually the 14th Amendment. We have to pay it. It's written in the 14th Amendment that the U.S. has to pay its debts. It won't be negotiated. So I don't know why it's even an issue. It comes up. It's like it's been passed almost 100 times, 90 times, something like that, without any incident. And then all of a sudden, in 2011 or so, they tried to make a political issue out of it, and it's been coming up, multiple times over the years. But it was passed multiple times, no problem. Last administration 3 times, and now that's an issue again. It's a non-issue. Like it's a mandatory thing. It's with a few things mandatory in the Constitution that we have to do.
Isn't it like a non-issue because theoretically, with this Basel III, Bruce, with the disclosure of the quadrillions of dollars in these derivative funds, I mean, we're standing on the precipice of the total destruction of world economies as they are known today.
Oh, I don't know about that, Jimmy. You should bring in the other Twitter thing you sent me today about China and the WEF and what they're launching. I don't think everybody's going down. I've been saying for 2 years now, this is the controlled basically the same way they took down those 2 towers is how they're taking down the Western world and the Western economy. Okay? So, the magical centers of the West are, with the obelisks, are Rome, Washington, and London. They're all being taken down. And in the Western world, anyways, it's my belief that the power will be recentered in a rebuilt Temple of Solomon. So, and what do I mean by magic? I mean that they control the flow of energy. Okay? And I know, magic is something that you sound like a moron when you start talking about it, right? But it's as real as your Toyota Corolla once you know what's going on. And I think everybody in this show is up to speed on it. But anyways, the specific pensions affected, I'll give them to you here. the Civil Service Retirement and Disability Fund, and that provides defined benefits to retired and disabled federal employees. Okay, so that's kind of bad. But nobody is going to really cry too much because everybody in the private sector hates civil servants, anyways, right? Go ahead, Jimmy.
Well, I'm just gonna say those people that aren't gonna, those ones that are singled out in that program, they don't seem like the big fighters. Like you're not gonna hear from them. They're over there without legs because their legs got blown off over in Desert Storm or whatever, and so hey, if they don't get their retirement this week or whatever, maybe hey, just take care of yourself. Hey, I mean, come on, man. I know the way it sounds like people aren't going to be getting their money. And technically, they're going to get their money right now. But see, the other thing that we had brought to the table in this discussion was that all of these systems, these Social Securities and all this stuff, this shit is antiquated and been already picked clean long ago. There is no money there. There's no there. Okay? So the only way there's there is when people keep paying into it so that the people that are on it can get paid. If there's nobody paying into it, then there's nothing to pay the people that are on it. Okay? So how do people pay into it? They work. Okay? There's a lot of people that ain't working anymore. Where's all that Social Security money coming in that's supposed to be paying for all these lazy bastards sitting over there on their Social Security, man? You know what I mean? There's not enough money to go around. So what do they got to do? They got to bring in this digital currency that's worth nothing.
Yep.
That's worth nothing now, and have you spend it into the system and change the whole thing so you get a general income rather than a Social Security, and you get a universal income and you get a universal health care, all based around your positive identification in this world. And they're going to spend the money into the system. So in other words, they get Walmart used to taking these digital dollars that right now, there's just like Bitcoin, there's only so many. Same kind of idea. They can spend it into existence and then have it have value because you're using it. And then just get rid of all that old nasty money. Bruce, get rid of all those quadrillions of derivatives that are sitting out there waiting. You see,
I haven't heard anything about Basel III, and as far as I understand, they're already past the deadline that it was supposed to be. No,
it's called Basel IV now. Yeah, it's supposed to happen this year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they keep pushing it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the one thing they seem to be keeping on track for people who have their eyes open, or people who are fortunate or unfortunate enough to hear Deborah Tavares for 2 hours on a podcast, is Agenda 2030. And what she used to talk, what she still talks about. Did she pass? I can't remember if she passed or not. I think she might.
No.
Okay. She was pointing out something that everybody was overlooking. And it was just part of her brilliance, right? And I don't think she was anybody's dog. I don't think she was on a leash. I think she was actually speaking from her heart and trying to help people.
I know.
I could be wrong.
Well,
every time I preserve a little bit of optimism, Jimmy, cynicism comes in and kicks me in the nuts. But
I know,
this is where I stand on it right now. But
imagine her and Dane Whittington at a dinner party. Man, you'd want to go hang yourself in the closet after you was hanging with those two. Because between those two, Dane Whittington and her, Deborah Tavares, between those two, I mean, they really present some of the most heinously effed up information that there is. It's terrifying.
It's all backed up, though, right? It's really well researched. What she primarily warned against was the growing private-public partnerships that were taking over all kinds of resources and stuff like that.
Well,
and really, this WEF cryptocurrency thing, Jimmy, is the ultimate private-public partnership. So,
right.
If you want to keep going, we could segue right. If you want to keep talking finance,
go ahead and
segue right into that.
Yeah, bring that into the conversation. And I know Epic's chomping at the bit. Epic, come on in here, man.
Yeah. Just because we predict this stuff so well, man. Not just us, a lot of people do. But we were talking about GTP3 a couple weeks ago, right? We had him on the show. Not him, the program, reading it off, answering questions from the audience, all that kind of stuff. And while we're talking about it, it was a week later that Microsoft buys a majority share. And this week, I scan all the normal news shows and stuff, try to see what the zeitgeist is of the regular media out there. And what's coming up all the time is talking about this GTP3 and how AI is going to change the world. And this particular program is going to be used to eliminate a lot of jobs, and we'll have to have universal basic income. I mean, so this is becoming a theme. You know how a lot of times you see these, you've seen some YouTube videos, I'm sure everybody has, where these people are repeating the same lines across, doesn't matter if it's left wing, right wing, whatever, CBS, Fox, or MSNBC, they're all repeating this thing. And they're all talking about this, and so they're nudging us into this world where we're gonna accept both 2030 and this universal basic income idea, because jobs are going to be taken by eventually not just GTP3 but AI in general.
Hey,
they crashed. FTX crashed, right? All this Bitcoin stuff. So not Bitcoin, but cryptocurrencies. So now they want to regulate it. So it's not going to be open source like Bitcoin. It's going to be government controlled, and that's the worst thing that could possibly happen. It is
2030. 2030, man. Get rid of the zeros. It's 23. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? This is, man, 7 years from now is not that far. You know what I mean? It's really not. It's a blink of an eye, especially the way the thing's been going. It's like the last 3 years have like blended into this some long drawn out molasses moment where I'm stuck. It's like flypaper or molasses. It's one of those rat traps where the rat, it gets stuck on this sticky glue shit and it can't move and it just lays there and starves to death. You know what I mean? That's what this last 2 years has been like for the civilization we used to formerly know. And we're moving into an unknown territory where you go down to the bank and your $1,300 ain't there. You know what I mean? Where's my $1,300, man? Call customer service. I called customer service and, I got a busy signal. It's like when the pandemic was going and you tried to get a hold of somebody down at the unemployment office. You couldn't even get an appointment to go down there. You had to set an appointment to go down there to call on a phone that they had in their office to sit on hold because they only took calls from those numbers. They weren't taking calls from regular numbers anymore. So, like, the thing is how many times removed from any buddy doing anything about something that's going on in your life are you? Because there's all this shit that's in control of everything. Control of the flow of your money from the employer into your bank account, the flow of your money out of your bank account to your bills that you set up in these private, these payment schemes. All these things are all dependent on everybody doing the thing that they're supposed to do. Well, all of a sudden, what if somebody jams up your payment coming into your from your employer into your bank account, and then all of a sudden now all your payments come in and your money's not there. So now, boom, all of a sudden you got $50 late fees and all this shit. Now you still got to come up with the money for the bill and the $50. Now your $50 late fees and and it's the never-ending spiral of death. And that's what we're in. We're watching the Western world in a spiral of death because the age of consumerism has now ended. And now the world of sustainable viability is what we have ahead. And if you're not part of the program, you're part of the problem. You're just sucking air and using resources. If you don't like it, get out. Go out to Canada because the North American Union is just like a moment away, like we've been saying. People forgot about the old North American Union conspiracy theory. The Amero. Remember that? Yeah, maybe there's going to be an Amero digital dollar. You know, and there's a combination. And you can just walk across over to Canada and go kill yourself if you feel like it. You won't even have to worry about any of those borders, those pesky borders anymore. Right? I don't know.
Well, the war is going to change that. Like, so, scary thing today, you know, with North Korea being implicated with providing arms to the Wagner Group, right? Because, you know, they declare them both, they're a terrorist state and a terrorist organization. And that's one step closer to declaring the nation.
Hold on there, Epic.
Russia.
Hold on there, Epic.
Hold
I
on.
don't even know what the Wagner Group is, and if I don't know, 99% of the listeners don't know.
But
So why
hold
don't
on.
you debrief
Don't
us?
don't debrief us yet, because Bruce is about to go into a tweet.
Right. Okay.
That is around what we're talking about right now, and save what you're about to say. Just hold on to it, Epic. Let's just get through this tweet, because we need to move off these current events and get into some of the meat of the issues.
All right, so let's tabulate. You got Bank of America, at least regionally in some cities, not having people's money. And because it's a national bank, I find it very strange that only a few branches in one city would not have their money. If there's anybody listening who's a Bank of America customer who's experienced this, maybe when we open the phone lines, we can get some firsthand feedback here, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll dig that.
So-
I'll dig the video up of the dude screaming about his $1,300, man. Hang on a second. I'll do that while you're getting into this. Go ahead.
Yeah. Second, you got Janet Yellen, who is the Secretary of the Treasury, for those of you who don't know, who has invoked special measures and usurped money from two government pension funds in the civil service, postal workers and the general civil service pension fund. Okay. Now, they say when the debt ceiling is lifted, those pensions will be made whole again. And so they're just basically temporarily borrowing it, and they're going to put it back if the debt ceiling gets lifted. Raising the question, what's the holdup on getting the debt ceiling lifted? Anybody? Let's talk about that for a second. Epic, Rio, anybody? Bueller, anybody?
We're out of money.
Okay. Well, it's never been a problem before. They've been lifting debt ceiling. They've been lifting the debt ceiling since Obama's second term habitually. Okay.
What is it? 31 trillion?
So no,
now?
for 90 some odd years. Yeah. But, So I had to click on the Skype. My screen's all messed up today. No, the whole thing is it's not an issue. It's in the 14th. So this is the thing. The whole American nation is started on debt. We borrowed money from France, right, to start the Revolutionary War. And then that money never got repaid in full. And along the way, other people started buying treasury bonds when they invest in America itself, right? They gamble in America that way, right? And it's grown the whole time. And there was some conflict in the Civil War because some of the congressmen at the time and people in the Senate didn't want to pay for the Louisiana Purchase, which Jefferson, had Franklin go do without getting approval from Congress when the payment was due, just like we're talking about the debt ceiling now. But it really became something of notoriety in World War I, right? Because we were overseas, right? We're overseas fighting in a war, right? And they had to accommodate that debt being racked up and how it's going to get repaid. And that's where all these bonds come from. And we talk about things like silver certificates from Franklin and not Franklin, I'm sorry, JFK. And then you had Abraham Lincoln, who had his greenbacks trying to get off that and start a separate fund. Both those people got assassinated. I don't think that's a coincidence. So this idea of America having its debt this whole time, and the idea that the debt ceiling is something that's not negotiable. It's in the Constitution, the 14th Amendment. It has to be passed. There's no argument here, right? It has to be passed. So
does this just have to do with Kevin McCarthy and the Republicans strutting around in Congress?
Yeah.
Right now, yeah. I mean, it happened in 2011 too, and the Democrats did it once in I forget what year it was, way back when. But it was just like a just making noise. But it wasn't something that was a real crisis. The 2011 case during the Obama administration was right after the 2008 economic collapse. So
there's a rumor
our credit got downgraded for the first time.
There's a rumor. There's a rumor the Republicans want to shave some dollars by requiring drug tests for people to use their food stamps cards. So you might have to.
It's not negotiable,
you
man.
Might have to go,
money we paid.
You might have to piss.
We spent on it.
You might have to go take a piss test if you want to go get your food stamps, man. Here go your food stamps, man.
let me just finish this spooky financial news.
Oh, yeah,
okay?
yeah. Don't forget about that tweet. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that, but there's more in this finance story. So the Treasury now has 350 billion to 400 billion of headroom available total, according to somebody named Gennady Goldberg, who's a senior U.S. rates strategist at TD Securities, which is Toronto Dominion. It's a Canadian bank, but it's in the U.S. now. That, according to this person, along with the influx of revenue that's going to come in from individual income taxes due in April, could let the Treasury go until sometime in July or August without running out of cash. So they're really ramping up the importance of individual income tax. And so as these things begin to happen, again, what they're doing is they're chumming the waters now to get a certain portion of the population really behind these 86,000 new IRS agents that they hired. So you can see the perfect storm happening for the middle class.
Man, if I don't get my bath, I take it out on the slaves. Man, you know what I mean? It's like they just have to bleed the people just some more. I mean, it's not like they've been bled enough.
All intentional, Jimmy. This is all intentional. They're going to make you suffer, man. And now, does anybody have the running tally on how much we've given to Ukraine?
Well, that's what
in arms and cash, so that their generals can sell the weapons on the black market. Everybody knows this is going on.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Why don't we just?
Was I not the first one to say on air? I said on air 6 months ago, this has got nothing to do with fighting Russia. This is about bankrupting America, and here we are dipping into private pension funds to pay public bills.
Yeah, not only that, we're running out of
27 billion, and it's 47 billion pre-allocated into the fiscal year this year total. But the thing is, what happened today is Netherlands promised they'll send F-16s if they ask for them. Leopard tanks, Poland's going to send. It's ramping up, man. It's ramping up big, and it's one thing that's delaying the agenda 2030 in a way.
Stand down, Marine. Okay, let Bruce finish. Bruce.
So. Unless the debt ceiling is raised, then you guys don't. I'm not going to say we, because I live in Costa Rica and I'm Canadian, but Canada's not that much better either. You have until July or August, and that's if everybody gets their taxes in on time. But I think so many people are in such a personal financial stress now that they're going to be expecting rebates from the IRS rather than giving the IRS money.
I mean, listen, ultimately, let's be honest. Ultimately, any kind of carrot could be offered to the American people for any reason to go to a different way, go to a different direction, get out of that cash, go to this new digital dollar. Look, man, go to the new digital dollar. We'll give you $1.25 for every dollar you have in the bank right now. If you move it to the digital dollar right now, we give you $1.25. Okay? If you move it there 6 months from now, we're going to give you 75 cents. All right? And then another month goes by, you get 50 cents. And then you get 25 cents, and then you get no cent because that money is no longer a viable option because now we're on the new brick digital gold-backed dollar.
Now, here's what's curious about this.
Hold on. Saudi Arabia said that they'll let anyone buy oil with any currency, 100 nations, 100 different nations. That is a big deal as far as the dollar is concerned. Go ahead, Bruce.
And that was the cheesecake and cappuccino in the American economy, man. That's what allowed the middle class to exist, was everything that you know who nailed that down, the petrodollar? And I think he did it after he was Epic will correct me on this if I'm wrong, but after he was impeached, was Richard Nixon, was sent over to the Middle East as a special envoy, and he's the one that negotiated this structure, right? That guy loved America, by the way. He got railroaded, Watergate aside.
He did his job. He was one of the best presidents. People don't realize it. He did his job for the New World Order, that's for sure. He opened up China. He invented the term fake news. We pointed out how similar he was to Trump in a lot of ways. But anyway, beside that point, the new digital dollar, the new Chinese way. The WEF in China, they're in bed together. This bleeding of the American economy, this slow bleed out, and people don't realize the parasites are still on the corpse, man. There's still enough blood flowing in the corpse for the parasites to exist. Okay? The fat ticks have fallen off, Bruce. The fat ticks have run back to the bunkers, and they're hiding out somewhere, eating pineapples and drinking smoothies or whatever.
Jimmy, one of you guys remind the listeners of how Trump came up with that $6 trillion, where it came from. It didn't come from the Federal Reserve. It came from the Treasury. And remind everybody what a special drawing right is at the IMF if you do that. I don't want to do all the talking. I just want to smoke my cigar and go get another coffee.
I know. Well, you know what, man? Smoking a cigar. Here, man, have a cigar. You're going to go far. Hey, Epic Journeyman, come on in here. Special drawing rights. Okay, hold on. Special drawing rights. Supreme David Rockefeller. Special drawing rights. SDR. Supreme David Rockefeller. Okay, Epic Journeyman, what's an SDR? Now, this is special drawing right. What is that exactly, and how did it tie in to that very vibrant signature that Trump gave? I mean, if you've never seen it, ladies and gentlemen, go on YouTube and look at the moment that Trump signed for that $7 trillion. Look at the way he signed it, because I tell you right now, man, you know what that was? He was signing America off for $7 trillion in a bankruptcy. America is bankrupt, man. And all the people are running for the exits and stuffing their pockets on the way out, because anybody that was going to do anything about it, they're all stuffing their pockets too and looking the other way. So nobody's going to do jack shit. And the only body left to do anything are the cops, and they're going to beat you up because they're here for the corporate business to be taken care of. And they're here to protect the corporation. They don't give a shit about people. Believe me, if you're going to the bank trying to get your $1,300 out, you're going to get a club upside your head if you don't shut up and get in line and be quiet.
We're Deadwood, and the government is the Pinkertons, folks. There's the picture for you. The government is the Pinkertons and Randolph Hearst, and we're Deadwood, if you've seen the TV show, okay? It's that simple.
That's how it's going.
Don't complicate it, Jimmy. Don't complicate it.
It's return to robber
police
barons.
Force is coming in, crackheads.
No,
and,
because BlackRock is the robber barons of the future, right? You know, we pointed this BlackRock when we were talking about BlackRock, and we were talking about Texas. We were talking about a particular development that was built to be rented only, never to be owned by anyone, and how they sold every one of those. They rented those out. They extrapolated it, and then they sold it as an investment. And they made, instead of making a 13 or 14% profit margin on building homes and selling them to people, they made some unbelievable amount of profit. And it got a bunch of people to invest in it. So it became an investment item where people are going around saying, hey, let's buy houses and just rent them out. You know, we can make way more money renting 100 houses out than we can building 100. And, you know what I mean? So the profit margin was there. So BlackRock automatically got into doing that stuff, right? So, I mean...
that's where the big inflation on housing costs came from. It's a way underreported thing. I mean, the reason that people can't afford to rent a house or buy a house right now is because BlackRock, investors like them, but primarily BlackRock, bought up all the houses, you know, and are renting them out at an inflated rate. So what used to be $1,000 or $1,500 a month rent in Kansas somewhere, which is pretty high for there, is now $2,500. And you look at the rent rates across the United States right now, and they're all like extremely high. You go buy a place in Wichita, or not rent, you're gonna have to rent it in Wichita, for example, Kansas, right? You're paying as much as you would for a condo in San Diego on the beachfront a couple years ago. That's not right, and that's what the problem is, and it's deliberate. It's a way not just to collapse society financially that we're talking about. It's a way to get people used to this idea of, well, you're going to live where we're going to tell you to live, basically.
Well, listen to this. Well, look at, so here's a big thing that's going on right now, and that is people like Bruce. Because, see, Bruce is a highly technical dude, okay? He's living in a country that has a great internet connection, so he's able to tap into the existing infrastructure to pull some dollars out. And so a lot of the millennials and Generation Xers are GTFO and out of the United States. They're going to places like Portugal. For some reason, a bunch of people are going to Portugal. And places like that. I mean, there's literally places in Italy. There's I can't remember the name of this island, but there's no young people, and there's the older folks are there. They'll literally let you go live there for free. You can just go pick something and go move there and start a business.
Yeah.
You know, the thing is, there's
so
no.
What another thing that's going on, Jimmy, is I mean, I get 2-3 emails a day with interview opportunities for technical writing, and a lot of people, as the economy contracts, what's going to happen is all of this technological stuff is going forward, okay? So if you work in that sector, you're going to be okay for the most part. But even that sector is going to take a trimming, okay?
Let me say
this past week.
Let me say this. I'm here in the Silicon Valley. Let me just say this right now. I'll tell you right now. I'm telling you from boots on the ground, man. Heads are rolling in the Silicon Valley, man. They're chopping heads, man. They are chopping heads, Bruce. And you know why? Because they don't need.
Because there's guys like me out in the world who'll work for $40 an hour instead of $110 an hour.
Exactly. Why drag around the baggage of an employee when you can just have somebody doing your work on a contract basis? And the thing is,
some 1099 who are living in the tropics.
But see, you just hit on the topic right here, and that is, that'll go on for a little while, just like you used to be able to get away with a bunch of stuff before everything went electronic. Well, right now you can kind of get away with some stuff electronically because the system that's about to lock into place hasn't really happened yet, and which is we have to realize how dollars and cents are made with governments and borders. So for every citizen, there's an extrapolated tax amount. And from that amount, people take derivatives and make investments. So each amount of people in your country that's a citizen is a tax income for the government. And so that's why the borders, that's how the governments get their money, is by having these citizens where they get these taxes. But then when you drop the borders, the governments don't have ways to get their taxes anymore. See, so what the big problem was, that's the big problem with the New World Order, is that what has to happen is, in order for you to have this type of a world without governments, a world with government, but without borders, you have to be able to tax the citizens, and the monies have to come in. And that was where the whole carbon tax thing came in. The carbon tax thing has to do with being able to tax you wherever you are in the world, because you've got a phone and there's an internet connection. Doesn't matter where you are, okay? You could this carbon tax and this payment for your unused carbon credits that are forwarded on to whoever they're going to go to, what corporation buys those from you over there in Zimbabwe, sitting there with all that tax, the carbon credits. Yeah, you sell those over here to GM because they make cars, and all of a sudden you got a cell phone. You're riding low on a scooter, you know what I mean? You're kicking back. Your lady's got beef in the refrigerator. You know what I mean? Because wealth will be redistributed this way, and the whole thing is the brakes were put on this thing when Obama and all them went, and this was when that whole video was out with that dude hide the decline. When they said that the temperature was dropping, whatever, and the temperature was dropping, but they said the world temperature was going up, and they was like hide the decline. That guy, it was a whole thing, and China walked out of that original accord. China walked out and said, "F you, we're not doing it. We're not getting into that. We're not doing it." And the whole thing, Obama's whole thing, fell apart because China walked away from that thing. Because Obama was set to sit there and try to make all this progress by having all these new jobs, because they were anticipating people having to go around and put a new, they were going to come scan your house with a meter and see where the heat was coming out of it. And then you'd have to repair that. And so they were extrapolating there was going to be all these millions of new jobs and all this stuff because of this carbon credits and all this stuff, and the whole thing fell apart for Obama, and he had no employment growth when he was in there, and so the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, is the world's moving forward. It's going to be borderless or region-like I was saying earlier. There's a document we'll get into. But there's this tweet we got to get into because we're almost out of time of the first hour already.
Oh no, we'll talk about the administrator of that New World Order when we get done with the tweet.
Yeah, we will. So who's doing this tweet? Rio, are you taking? Is Rio?
Yeah, why doesn't Rio do it, man?
Well, he may not be ready or prepared to do it. But
all right, well I'm good to go. I mean,
roll, man.
All right, so Let's put it all together. So you just got the news about the Treasury and what they're going to do with the private retirement funds. It's a very bad sign, folks, because when the government is putting its hands into public money, that's never good, man. So here's another thing coming up. So there's the Universal Digital Payments Network for Stablecoins. Acronym is, or the abbreviation, because you can't really say it as a word. CBDCs has launched at Davos. So this is that big meeting. Where's the meeting taking place, Jimmy? Where is Davos? Is that in Switzerland? Yeah,
yes, it is.
They got 5,000 Swiss guards guarding them. Okay. So the Universal Digital Payments Network was launched today at the World Economic Forum, and basically it provides interoperability between regulated stablecoins and central bank digital currencies. So digital SWIFT system, folks. Again, another blow to the petrodollar, another blow to the SWIFT system. I mean, I don't think America can even sanction countries anymore. How much has it slowed down Russia? Nada. Okay?
All right,
Russia,
well, listen, you're triggering
nothing.
Epic Journeyman, man, and we only got 2 minutes left. Epic Journeyman, stand by. Because we want to get into we want to get into this now. Hold on a second now. All right, so here we go. We're gonna head on out of here. My name's Jimmy. It's Revolution Radio, fully listener supported. Come on down and support the network. The shows here are completely volunteer. All the money donated goes to the platform. 48 hours a day, 7 days a week. Studio A, Studio B, 48 hours. And if there's something you find here that you like, come on back. Something you don't like, change over to Studio B. Might be something you like over there. Who the hell knows what people like anymore? I don't know. All I know is it's into the microcosm, son.
Secret destroyers hold you up to the flames. And what do I get for my pain? Betrayed desires and a piece of the game. Even though I know I suppose I'll show all my
It's an independent broadcast network.
Listen to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
Hey everyone, it's Barbara Jean Lindsay, the Cosmic Oracle. If you have questions about your past lives or future plans, need answers from the cosmos about your love life or career, or just want to keep your finger on the pulse of the planet, check out my show, The Cosmic Oracle, here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com.
Don't miss the Crypt Rick and Jonathan Show every Saturday, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Studio B, right here at Revolution Radio.
The journey begins to fun, health, and freedom.
Did you ever feel that things were not quite right? That everything was just ever so slightly askew?
Do you have, to paraphrase Morpheus, a splinter in your mind?
If you're interested in hearing the latest information about UFOs, the paranormal,
ancient cultures and structures,
monatomic elements,
longevity,
fantastic discoveries in science,
downloaded to your brain,
then tune into us. Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Mackie.
And we are Shiny Side Out, Sundays 2 to 4 a.m. Eastern. See you then.
Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
There have been imaginative science fiction writers for generations.
Be evasive.
But that doesn't mean that they're telling the truth as opposed to fiction.
I'm aware of some archaeologists that have uncovered large bones indicating giants in Virginia. Genesis chapter 6 verse 4, there were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came unto the daughters of men, indicating that there were giants before the Nephilim.
And sons of God, plural. They weren't talking about Jesus coming down and
No, that's right. Yeah.
I'm Steve Crawford. Join me every Thursday night in Studio A at 6 p.m. Eastern for Factor Theory Live. Find us on www.revolution.radio. Great guests and great stories.
What do you believe?
Join me at Revolution Radio, Studio B, at 11 a.m. on Saturday for Free Association, when we take a look at philosophy, spirituality, psychology, social issues, and geopolitics. It's every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern on Studio B at freedomslips.com.
I want to thank everybody for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the one place where information never sleeps. Revolution Radio.
All right, let's show them what we got now.
All right, thanks for listening while we took that short break here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And yeah, we're going to get back to your host.
It's Friday night. My name's Jimmy. It's the Independent Broadcast Network coming to you live, going out to Revolution Radio.
Now everybody keeps on telling me how to be. Everybody tells me do what they say. Ooh, I'll help myself, it's up to me and no one else. But till I'm ready, just keep out of my way.
Revolution Radio, Been on the air for 12 years solid. Listener supported. Every single year that's gone by, every single moment that's gone by, it's been supported by listeners like you. And so we appreciate the platform over here at Revolution Radio, and we appreciate if you'll go on over there and become a patron or become a supporter in some way. If you don't have anything to give, give some love and, share out the station with people. You know what I'm saying? All right. Epic Journeyman, are you there?
I am here.
All right. Now, Bruce was just getting into this here. This universal digital currency platform that's going to surpass the SWIFT system that is associated with the petrodollar and the decline of the Western civilization. So let's give him this last minute here to tie this knot so we can get into your war platform, because I see over there you got war dripping from your jowls.
No, actually I have something else.
All over sticky, all over your fingers, like you've been eating ribs. It's like I can hear
War Dogs. We're gonna play War Dogs. Right?
All right.
No, I'm not gonna go there.
All right, okay. All right, hold on a second. So Bruce, do me a favor. It's like MASH.
Before we jump into that,
I'm just saying it's like MASH, and we have a patient on the table, and I need you to get in there and sew up that wound, get that vein back together, throw a few stitches in there real quick, so we.
I just want to, before we do that, I just want to very briefly let the listeners know that if you don't have time to listen to the show, and you can't get it on YouTube because Jimmy's always breaking the rules and it's being scrubbed. We have a distribution point for all the major podcasting sites now, so you can find Into the Microcosm and all the other shows that are going to be up on the IBN network on Spotify. I think last week's show, all 4 hours of it, is up on Spotify. They said they were going to take it down because, but remember, Spreaker is a distribution point to all the other ones as well.
Right.
So Google Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify.
So they were giving us a hassle because the main hassle is always the same hassle. And they were trying to give us that hassle over there, but you're saying that they rescinded the hassle now and it's up?
Well, I found the podcast today on Spotify.
Well, there you go. Maybe
if you want to listen to last week's great show on The Economist, and we got into The Dark Knight Rises a little bit and the medic warfare, and it's in a perfect battlefield situation. This is the Art of War by Sun Tzu and Medic Warfare, that Dark Knight Rises. And if you missed last week's show, you're just ignorant, man. You don't have a clue what's going on in this world.
It's the gift that keeps on giving, too. We're going to bring it up again.
We didn't even get to it.
Your ignorance.
We didn't get to it because Bruce's power went out on Saturday. We were going to get to it, and then we never finished it because we didn't want to do it without Bruce because he had put so much research into it. But here, let's stay where we are now.
No, we're going to stay where we are. I got the
Listen,
sutures for that, too, if you want to tie that.
Okay,
that's where I was going to go.
You need to tie the knot because we're bleeding out our lifeblood.
I got it. Clear.
All right. The UPDN, the Universal Digital Payment Network, is an advanced digital currency payments project that has the potential to drive down the cost of digital payments and accelerate adoption by banks and businesses of all sizes. So the network was developed in the last 2 years by Decentralized Cloud Infrastructure. Red Date Technology put that together. That's the name of the company. IT solutions provider GFT Toco and DLA Piper.
Oh, wait. Hold it. Slow down. Back up. Back that thing up.
Was the name DLA Piper?
Which company is the company what company is dealing with the infrastructure and technology for this, did you say?
Well, there's 4 listed, but I think the main one is Red Date Technology. So let me just get to that. So Red Date Technology is also the developer of the blockchain-based service network, BSN, the China state-backed blockchain network. So we've also been saying on this show, at least I have, that power is shifting to China. Okay, and they throw in a lot of news, and there's analysts out there who are contradicting that. There's people out there saying, oh, China's only got 10 years left, but that's because these morons don't know what China's capable of. China ain't going to go down in 10 years. They would genocide 500 million of their own people before they allowed that to happen.
Which is the size.
Just look what happened.
Their middle class is the size of the whole population of the United States. They could wipe out their whole middle class and have a whole new middle class come up, just like that. They got billions of people over there. Billions of people.
I think the value of human life is like most currencies in the West, gradually losing its value in the world, and I think a lot of countries are going to be very comfortable with allowing their own citizens to die. Right? Certainly Canada, euthanasia.
Bruce, it's all about money, man. Money. Unless you're smart. See, man. See, the thing about surfing, it's not, there's a lot more to it than just getting on a board and riding a wave. Epic Journeyman. It's like you sit on the board and you let the fools get on all the bad waves while you just sit there and wait because you see that wave coming. It's coming way back there, man. You see it, but the other people don't see it.
You know how to read the signs, right?
Exactly. You're reading the signs and you're about to get in there and catch that wave when it's coming. You're about to get on the best wave of the day, man. And that's what Bruce did. Bruce read the ocean. He saw what was going on. He saw what was going to happen, and he boned out and built himself a place up in the mountains off the system. And now he's able to apply his knowledge that he gained by living in first world countries, and he can move to a country not
plus Abbott, Jimmy. I'm also farming. 2023 is going to be a bumper year for me as everybody else is going down. This will be one of my best earning years because the abacus come together real nice. But I put a lot of money into it, man. Fertilizing, keeping it 14 hectares
that's what
clean.
I'm saying.
And
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. But look, even though you did all that, what you did there ties in with this program of these 15-minute communities, right? So everything within 15 minutes of walking distance of your house is all right there. Just like that city that's Epic Journeyman Loam, 5 miles wide and 100 miles long,
Neon the line, yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but anyways, this money thing, and I mean, this is going this way. They're hurting. If you saw, if the population of the world was like cattle, right? And there's one giant, field with cattle in it, and they gotta get these cattle into this area. They gotta get them into these chutes, and they can only jam so many cattle into the chute at so fast. You know what I mean? So we're at that point where there's a choke point where they can only jam so many people into the chute so fast. So what happened was with this, the Certificate of Vaccination ID 19, Certificate of Vaccination ID 19 is the pilot program for the future identification and tracking of all human objects on the planet with your in-out device, your cell phone, which will be available worldwide to everybody, and even people that don't have them now, they'll have them now. All those old cell phones that they, hey, trade in your cell phone, trade in your iPad. Guess what? They're throwing those things to all these people in these countries because now they got internet.
They got Starlink, right?
That's right.
Like I do at home, actually, ironically.
That's right.
Yeah, so to the add-on about this digital currency and how it's coming about, we've all talked about it for years. We've all theorized about all things that are going to make it happen. And we've talked about every aspect of it, from whether it be the Antichrist to artificial intelligence, which are probably one and the same actually, and all these other things, right? The beast is artificial intelligence, almost certainly, I think, but Antichrist would be a person who embodies it. And that thing about the temple being rebuilt, that's scriptural. That is going to be the headquarters, where the man that is the Antichrist, from that perspective, makes himself God, right? In the temple, calls himself God. So here's the thing. Without getting into all that stuff, we're looking at the formation of something that is going to call back directly what Jimmy was talking about earlier. See, when he was there trying to get a hold of these people, like a lot of us were, and nobody to answer because of those restrictions back in the day, when it was hard before. So you're calling unemployment, you're calling disability, you're calling all these bureaucracies, and nobody answers the phone. You have to make an arrangement, and you have to have somebody on the line to talk to you and all this stuff, and it was just a huge hassle. It took days and days, super inefficient. It was frustrating by design, I think, on purpose. It was frustrating. It always was, to keep you from calling, right? But even more so than normal, right? And the thing about a digital future, the thing about a digital currency is it's like a new government, right? And what it needs more than anything else is a bureaucracy, right? It is an operating system. Well, what's that operating system going to be? Who's going to take all those phone calls? GPT-3 is through your phone. Microsoft bought it, right? It's going to be the operating system for the world. When you have a problem with your universal basic income, you call it, answers. It takes all your data, takes all your information. It reads how you respond, all these other things. Takes your data, and keeps you on the line. And it can take all day answering you. It doesn't matter if it takes an hour. It doesn't matter if it takes a minute or if it takes 10 hours. It doesn't care. The whole time, it's reading how you feel. It's reading your heartbeat through the phone. It maybe has a camera on, looking at your expression, has facial recognition. It knows how to read your emotions. The entire thing. It is making a profile of you every time you call, right? And that will have an effect on your universal basic income, in the jobs you'll get offered and the kind of opportunities you'll have. Just like the social credit system in China does now. And eventually you'll be on the slow train or the fast train. You'll be in the good part of Neom or the bad side. You'll be in the desert, or you'll be in the Wichita house somewhere.
Or like you said before, Cloud 9,
Yes, that's why I brought up the cloud thing. And the last one was a DLA, DLA what there, Bruce? It was DLA Piper. The Piper, right? The Piper. The one, there's something about that name, I'm telling you. Like the piper that leads you astray, like the Pied Piper. That's always a metaphor for the devil, really, right? For leading you astray, leading you into transgression.
Isn't that Pan? It's like Pan playing his flute, half man, half goat. Bruce McDonald, are you that? Because I see you over there now.
Yeah.
Listen, let's close this wound and wheel the patient over into recovery, because we need to, we got a lot more show, and we got not a lot of time. We've already cut 15 minutes.
You kids at home, you may want to take a look at Red Date technology. Just look it up on Google. You'll come to reddatetech.com. The website's in English, but it is a Chinese company. And I think that's Shanghai they got on their... Yeah, it's definitely Shanghai they got on their thing there. The architect of new global digital infrastructures. Okay, so China's at the forefront of this. So if you're American or Canadian, a North American, we got used to leading the world from World War II onwards. But generally, the leader of the world, when things change this quickly, we go from the engine car to the caboose, and that's what's happening now. And this time they want to make sure we go to the caboose, right? And that's why they're collapsing us, they're looting us, they're doing all of these things.
Let me say this. Recently, I applied for a position, okay, and I got that position. I'm not going to name the name of the company. I did get the position, but I turned it down for a reason, because there was some negotiations on some of the items, and some of the items couldn't be worked around, and I couldn't work a deal out with them. But what I can tell you is this: it was working for a company that does smart grid automation for all the carriers of any kind of utility. So they monitor through the utility, the SCADA data. And so I was going to be working with them. And one of the things, the reason I'm bringing it up is because one of the things that this company did and does and said that they would provide is smart contracts and blockchain technology. So these are providers of data transmission over networks, collection or moving utilities to meet needs electronically type of thing. Smart grid, what people hear about, smart grid. But they're going to be working with blockchain and smart contracts. So I'm just saying, this is an odd place to hear this, going to work for a company. Because the last thing I was expecting is to hear any of this, that they've been working on that, but they're consultants and they had worked on that for this. And they had specifically named out a giant investor that just bought some power companies across the United States, and they're going to be they're going to be moving technology from their older monitoring technology onto the new smart grid. So the world's going onto the smart grid. It's going on the smart grid, and it's going to be working on blockchain and smart contracts. So you think people are going to be walking around out here without their own smart contract on blockchain? Listen, the positive idea is coming. There's no way around it because the world is going to go borderless. There's already one of the biggest brain drains ever of a lot of our young people out of America because they see there's no future for them here. They'd rather take their investment and put it into some other place.
Yeah. I was just doing a client interview this week for the tax job. A couple really smart young guys in their 30s. They have a gaming company. And they said, I said, how's the weather? And they said, yeah, blah, 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 blah. They're in Toronto. They said, where are you? I said, I'm in Costa Rica. And one of the principals in the company, he said, oh my God, what a coincidence. I just closed on a lot in Guanacaste this morning, which is the northern province of Costa Rica. Everybody's leaving, man. I'm just ahead of the curve. Okay? It's going to be an empty husk of a place, North America, by 2030, man. I mean, there will still be people making money and everything, but it's gonna look pretty third worldish, man. It's gonna look like Detroit in like 2005.
Well, I don't know. All I know is this is if you got a job, you better do what you can to keep it, for as long as you can. And then just hope you don't get caught in the bureaucracy of making phone calls. Call customer service, man, Hey, it's just a computer problem, man. We'll get it squared away in the next 90 days or so. It's going to take like 90 days for you to get your $1,300, bro. Sorry about that. And there's nobody you can go down and strangle when you're frustrated because there's nobody there. They're on the phone. And at this point, you don't even know if they're even really people at this anything, They're like these anonymous callers, Mr. Black, Mr. Green, Mr. Pink. They're all calling you.
Hey, you don't mind if you're Mr. White. It's a cool name. I'm Mr. Pink. Yeah.
See what I mean? Hey, you Mr. Green called you and you didn't dig it, and they transferred you over to Mr. White. If you resonated with Mr. White, boom, shagoom. There you go. But anyway, you're not going to get to Mr. White because you're going to call and the network's going to be overloaded. Just like when the power goes out and everyone jumps on their cell phone. Well, the capacity overwhelms the network and then nobody's phones work. So it's, this is a seesaw, this balancing act called Western civilization. This seems to be on the abyss, the precipice. It's going over the cliff. God damn it, Bruce. But Bruce is safe over there. He's got a canoe. He's on the top of a mountain. So even if there's 1,000-foot tidal waves, he'll be able to surf free in his little canoe and with his pot. He's saving your pot, the little abaca. Wherever you land, you can start over. And
I hope I'm safe. What I think I'm fairly secure from is the man-made shenanigans. The fallout from the man-made systems collapsing. But I think what we're going through is going to have a lot of natural disorder as well, and that I might not be safe from. Old Bruce may get smoked in a volcano erupting, then you'll say, hey, that guy thought he was so smart. Look at him now. He's petrified on the Talamanca Mountains.
Yeah, man, but just Just don't.
I'd rather die by a natural cause than let some government do me in, and that's the only dignity I have.
In other words, what Bruce is saying, ladies and gentlemen, is he'd rather die on his feet than live on his knees. Because his name is not Neil, and his name is not Bob, and it's not the Neil and Bob show. Okay, Bruce is on his feet, man. Okay? He's riding horses. He's chopping shit down with machetes. He's killing stuff when he's going to eat it. And that's why he doesn't eat meat anymore. Because now if he wants to eat meat, he has to actually go out there and chop the head off of something. And hear it scream.
Literally.
And hear it scream. That's right. You don't want to hear that scream.
All you meat eaters who've never harvested a mid-sized mammal, you'd quit meat before you could blink if you ever had to do it.
I know.
I'm telling you right now.
That's right. Because any kid that went in the grocery store, if he had to watch a video of what it took for that hamburger to get in the package before you could open the door, nobody would be eating meat, man. Everybody would be eating crickets in 20 seconds flat. You know?
I have a hard time even spearing fish anymore, man. Because the more you know about life and animals and things like that, you see more into them than just, what people generally see. So it's hard, And so, like for the apocalypse, I have all my spear guns, and I bought an air rifle, right? It's actually a crossbow, pneumatic crossbow.
Damn.
The thing is badass, dude. It'll go through a pig at 100 yards.
I know. Epic's a stone cold killer too, man.
But am I ever going to use it? Only in the apocalypse, right?
I'll be
fooled. Shooting targets rest time.
Don't be fooled by the Epic Journeyman's jovial nature. Believe me, he'll snap your neck in 2 seconds flat. He'll choke you out with a piece of piano wire in the dark, painted black. He'll be all black with that shit on his face and just drop out of the ceiling tile and just... And that's it, man. Back on the submarine.
Like
People
the
don't
professional,
realize
right?
the Epic Journeyman's got a dark nature, man. You got to be cool. He's nice. He's cool and everything. Just don't step on his hair, man. You don't like it. All right, just a word to the wise about the Epic Journeyman. Now listen, Bruce, Epic Journeyman, Rock and Rio. We got a couple subjects to get into, and one of the ones we're going to get into here. Now I'm just going to go ahead and just bring it to the table. Bruce, Epic Journeyman, Rock and Rio. What about the mirror, man? The reflective nature of the mirror. From all the angles. Now let's talk about it a little bit. Now, I'll just say, I'll put what I'm thinking on the table, and that is that you can get. There's a lot of esoteric and occulted ideas around the mirror, but I'm just saying, just from a perspective of what you could just realistically understand in the moment. Let's just say, when you look in the mirror, you see a representation of yourself in there. You see yourself in it.
Or your body.
Yeah, your face, whatever. You see it. And when you look in there, you see, that's me, Okay, but when you're not looking in the mirror and you're just looking around the world out of your eyeballs or whatever, you don't know what you look like. Okay? You don't know what you look like. So like if you lived 50 years and never saw yourself and you felt the same way that you feel, you wouldn't realize that you had changed or looked different. You wouldn't have any clue to that fact, because, like, for example, for me right now, when I look out of my eyes, I don't feel any different than I ever have. I feel the same as I was when I was 25 or whatever. I mean, except I have more, scars and wisdom from, mistakes that I made or whatever. But I'm just saying, from perspective of, I don't feel older or whatever. You know what I mean? And even if I look at myself in the mirror without my glasses on, I still look the same. I still look the same as I did without my glasses when I look at myself in the mirror and I see my reflection, but that's the representation I see of myself. So that's one aspect of the mirror. Now, the second thing is not being able to see a reflection, for 50 years, whatever. The second aspect of what I was thinking about is how the world in and of itself is like a mirror. So everybody you come in contact with is a reflection of you, is a reflection of yourself. So if you like you go to the office and there's somebody that you like a lot, it's because there's something about the reflection of you in them. There's something about you in them that you like. You like an aspect of yourself that you see in them, and it's the same thing with when you don't like somebody. You know, you clash with somebody. You know, it's because they reflect the aspect of yourself that you hate. There's some part of yourself that's in there that you don't deal with that affects your ability to proceed. Okay, and so when you see that in others, it causes you to be angry or you don't like that person, that kind of thing. That's an aspect of the reflection of the mirror. You know, what about the aspect of a window from this place to another place? There's so many things about the mirror, Bruce.
Yeah.
Now what do you think esoterically or from an occult perspective, the mirror has it? I mean, look, what comes to mind, mirror, mirror on the wall, Epic Journeyman, don't get triggered with the Mandela
effect, right?
But just yet, but Bruce, the mirror.
Well, I think Jimmy, the mirror is the instrument that is going to allow Russia to.
You faded out right at your crucial moment, trying to trigger Epic. You didn't.
I don't know. I was waiting for an immediate response, but apparently it's not forthcoming.
No, because
we faded out. Yeah, we didn't hear you
there, Bruce.
You cut out. Right?
Well, I don't know how that happened, man. I mean, that is mind-boggling. I think the mirror is going to be the device that allows Russia to win this conflict in Ukraine.
All right. Well, listen. Seriously, though, from a dimensional perspective, I'm just.
I got a great little riff here, on the mirror and John Dee. If you want to hear it.
Yeah. That was.
Oh yeah, dude,
mirror. Big time.
All right, so spirit mirror used by John Dee. You know, and those of you at home, playing at home, don't know who John Dee is. He was a 16th century occultist and referred to by Queen Elizabeth as her philosopher. And he used to use this mirror to talk to ghosts. Now, this is a fairly relevant story. So August 17, 2022, and National Geographic picked it up as well. So we knew we were going to do mirrors tonight, so I did a bit of research, and this is the most interesting story I found. So John Dee, they call him a scientific advisor to England's Queen Elizabeth I, deeply involved in magic and the occult. They tried to commune with ghosts using a so-called spirit mirror, made, wait for it, of polished obsidian. Now I've heard whispered that obsidian is what they like for the altars for the human sacrifices in these classy circles in Europe in the underground dungeon. But I don't know. Maybe Epic or Rio could say something else.
Also Black Mirror, yeah. So, you know, the thing about him is he signed all his stuff 007.
Yes.
That's where 007 came from, yeah. And he's the guy who invented Enochian magic because he claimed he was talking to the Watchers, the Enochian, from the Book of Enoch, right? The actual Watchers from the Book of Enoch.
I think he was. And the guy who sold me on that idea was the Irish occult researcher, Michael Sarion. Absolutely sold me on the idea. Now, apparently, and we're getting off the mirrors here, but John Dee is so damn interesting, we just got to riff a bit here, Jimmy. Apparently, when John Dee and his partner made contact with what they called the macrobes, they wanted a download of information. And the macrobes were willing to trade. Now, a lot of times, this is how you know you're not dealing with the creator, because everything with the creator is unconditional and freely given. If you're dealing with a multidimensional entity that wants something from you, probably in a bad place in the universe. Get out of there quick, right? So they got all this stuff and this information, and according to Sarion's theory, it is the slow migration we've made over the last 400 years to the point we're at now. And there were two critical phases in terms of deciphering what the macrobes gave to John Dee and his partner. One was energy from matter, which has already been accomplished through fusion, through the atomic bomb. And the other one was matter from energy. So this would be like materializing things, like the food replicator in Star Trek. That one we don't have yet, at least not publicly. Now, what did the macrobes want in return? Anybody? Bueller?
Well, I haven't heard the term macrobes yet. So where did that term come from?
That's what they referred themselves to, or what they were classified as.
Interesting.
Well, it's the opposite of a microbe. It's a macro, but they're entities that apparently live in space. They're plasma based, but
okay, like elves and sprites.
Yeah, not good. But probably
no, elves and
very
sprites are
similar.
kind of lightning. Yeah, they are in the upper stratosphere. Yeah.
Yeah, so probably very similar to the stuff that Solomon and his crew were talking to when the Kabbalah started. So all of this magic stuff, it always has a horrible beginning, and you understand the beginning of it, you understand how diabolical it was. Now, according to Michael Sarion, what the macrobes wanted in exchange for this download to this human race, which they apparently have contempt for as well, was anybody? Bueller? Anybody? Blood.
S90 said blood, yeah.
Blood,
So, yeah.
man.
Blood.
What's up, blood?
Blood.
So it's blood magic, right? So that this gets into the dark. That's why it's a dark mirror, the human sacrifice thing. Yeah, I've heard this, definitely. This ties into a very mysterious thing that I'm going to tie the mirrors into, because what mirrors do, and we're going to a lot into mirrors as the show goes on, but one of the things that mirrors have always been used for is to see the unseen, whether it be the spirit world, right? To see the unseen in the spirit world, and to see the unseen through convex mirrors used for a telescope or for a microscope, right? And so there's a document. Oh man, I have a brain messed up right
I would
there
add
right now.
to your list, Epic. Just quickly, Epic. I would add to your list cameras that can photograph things and show things outside of the human eye's light spectrum.
Oh yeah. I was going to bring that in. I was going to think of the Voynich manuscript is what I was thinking of, which nobody knows who wrote that, but it came from a time where people think it might have been either John Dee or even Francis Bacon, right? Based on the New Atlantis, going to New World America, had all these plants as his language nobody can decipher and everything.
Right.
But in the margins of this book, there are these things that are obviously microbes, and in the other margins around the pages are these drawings that were ancient microscopes, not ancient, 16th century microscopes, 17th century microscopes that hadn't been invented yet, supposedly. But there they were. And this ties directly into this being, deciphered and brought to people channeling it from, whether it be the Enochian magic rituals of the Watchers with John Dee, perhaps, or whatever the people in the Rosicrucians at the time with Francis Bacon and those were working on. And before that, some kind of ancient knowledge. Right, maybe of lost knowledge even, but there it was with the actual patterns. Even the kaleidoscope things were on there. So, yeah, it's fascinating that these things were way before the time that supposedly they were discovered, and they were discovered through magic.
John
It's
Dee's
amazing.
mirror made out of obsidian too. It wasn't made out of glass. It was made out of Aztec obsidian, actually, from the volcanoes. The Aztecs used it to see into the future, but John Dee used it to summon the spirits. So that's
exactly, yeah. So they finally did a trace analysis on John Dee's mirror, and they traced it to the Aztec Empire. And everybody knows what the Aztecs are famous for, right? Just go and watch Mel Gibson's Apocalypto, man. Human sacrifice. The Aztecs sacrificed 20,000 people a year. I mean,
that's where the blood tie
365 days in a year. Yeah. It's always the same thing. It's always blood night. It's still in the world. There's still groups practicing it today. Okay. And it's my theory. I think when that temple gets built in Jerusalem, we're going to go back to it's going to be iPhone 15 and blood ritual sacrifice televised. Right.
Well, we all stare into the black screens of the iPhone, right? Is that everybody's little personal scrying mirror?
In a sense, yeah. So all of this, so obsidian is a kind of volcanic glass. I could probably build obsidian things over here and get into this stuff, but I don't spill blood.
When I was a little.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I'd go that far, Bruce.
No, I'm not going to do any
I got
field
that
research
cornered
here,
over here.
I'll tell you what, man. When I was a little kid, Shirley Temple Black lived in this giant mansion, and this other family who had kids who I was friends with, they lived in part of this giant house in Palo Alto. It's like an old Victorian mansion, and she lived in there all recluse style. Shirley Temple. But out in the backyard, me and these other kids, we located some obsidian, and we started digging it up, man. We found all kinds of it. I had like 10 pounds of obsidian in these pieces that were like the size of like a charcoal briquette.
You know, if you shatter it the right way too, it's incredibly sharp, like a razor blade.
Yeah, it'll cut you, man. It'll cut you, man.
They made arrowheads out of it. Yeah, knives.
Don't make me cut you, man.
Knives for the sacrifice, ironically. Yeah,
exactly.
Seriously. Well, man, it is all in the blood, man. The spilling of the blood, the draining of the blood, and the life blood. Is it actual blood? Does a vampire actually suck blood, or is it your life blood, your energy blood? Is it your vampiric mirror in the bathroom that's sucking your energy through to another dimension? Somebody on the other side. Hey, Bruce, should people cover the mirror in the bathroom with a towel when they go in there in case they don't want no one to see what's going on? I mean, maybe there's somebody on the, they have these up in San Francisco on Broadway. They used to have these places where you'd go in there and you'd put 50 cents inside this coin thing, and this little window would drop down, and there'd be these skanky hoes in there dancing around, some, junkie chicks in underwear dancing around, and they'd start dancing around and get all, almost get there, and then they'd close the window, and you got to put 50 more cents in, like that.
Yeah. So on the topic of mirrors, I think the most powerful non-physical mirror reflection of ourselves is our destiny, our fate, our karma, right? Because that really tells you who you are. Like even in a single human life, somewhere around your mid-50s, you start to figure out who you are. Because all of your seed actions have been done in the lifetime, and what you're left with is what you deserve. And there's no saying you got cheated, you got this, you got that. It just is what it is, right? But look around yourself. If you don't have love, if you don't have clarity, if you haven't achieved wisdom, probably that's a reflection of who you are. Now, everyone on this show has achieved wisdom, or I wouldn't be here. Well, and I'm not just tooting our horn. And that's a good fate line. To achieve wisdom is a very good fate line, because it's really the only purpose we're alive. Really?
Well,
other than that, to pick some fruit and fornicate and make kids. But, right? It's really about achieving wisdom. Go ahead, Jimmy. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying, let me ask you a question, though. Like, for example, in the movie True Romance, when Christian Slater is looking in the mirror, Elvis is looking back at him, wearing them sunglasses, telling him what to do. People have been told what to do by their reflection in the mirror. The thing about the mirrors, I don't know if you've ever been to these, these traveling carnivals that come around once a year in the summertime, and people go there and eat cotton candy and shit and get on these, rides that might kill you, get freaked out and puke. You go there and the thing spins around, you stick to the wall and the floor drops out, and then it comes back up and you get out and puke. You eat some corn dogs, Bruce. But in there they always have these fun houses, and part of the fun house is this hall of mirrors where everything you see is a reflection. You don't really know where the source or the reality of it is. You don't know where the actual body, like if you were looking for somebody in there and you could see their reflection just right on all these different mirrors, you'd bump into the mirrors a million times, reaching out, trying to grab whatever it is you want, but you find out it's your hand just goes up against the glass, man. It's a reflection. It's like the prize isn't there. You journey down this path because you're chasing a reflection, and when you get there, it's not there, man. And now you got to turn and look for it again. Oh, you see it over there. Now you start going over there. You reach for it. Boom, it wasn't there. It was a reflection, or it's a resonance of it. It's not really there. Or is it there? When does it materialize from a reflection? Think about the reflection in and of itself. We see it as it is. It represents us, or what we feel is us. Have you ever seen, there was this painting that was being floated around for like a year or two where they were saying, look, It's cell phones, man. They're showing cell phones to the native Indians on these ancient paintings. You know, and it wasn't cell phones, it was mirrors. Because the first thing that these people did when they jumped off these boats to scare the natives was to show them a mirror. You know what I mean? Because a mirror, all of a sudden, a mirror was scaring the natives, Epic Journeyman. So
Well, the difference was it was a silver mirror as opposed to the black mirrors that they were used to. So the silver mirror reflects differently than the black mirror.
Inscriptions.
Yeah, that's what scared them.
Inscriptions on notes that are stored with John Dee's mirror refer to it as, quote unquote, the devil's looking glass.
That's what I was saying earlier. It's like when you're looking in that window and the window goes up. What I was trying to represent was on the other side of your bathroom mirror, there may be something over there, or is there somebody in another dimension that gets to look in on you? And that's the window in. Wherever there's a mirror, they're looking in. Wherever there's a mirror, someone's looking in. And
it's a black hole, right? You talk about there being a white hole on the other side. Isn't that it? The black mirror on one side and the light mirror on the other. It's a reflection of both the universe and the multiverse, altered universe, or what we call it, parallel universe on the other side. It's a window. So it's not a mirror; it's a window.
It's a reflection and a refraction at the same time.
It's your life in reverse.
Well, think about it, man. What actually makes a modern mirror in a house? You know, it's a material on the other side of a piece of glass. You know, and that causes the reflection, right? So there's some sort of a material that causes this reflection. And so that is in the spectrum that your eye can see, you know. But like we're saying, maybe this window, because listen, what people do, you know, it's described. You know, I'm not saying I've done it, but I'm saying it's described that people light candles and look in mirrors and, you know, repeat chants and so on and so forth. It's almost like the Kiva idea where you lay in a deep hole and look up at the sky type of thing and meld into the universe. It's the same type of idea, Bruce, with this meditation, with the candle and the focal point being the mirror and the reflection and the speaking over and over of tones, or so you have this candle and then the tones and then the mirror aspect of it, and this takes people to other places. Mirror, mirror on the wall, you know, this type of thing.
The convex and concave mirror. So a telescope uses a concave mirror, or excuse me, convex mirror, right? In a convex mirror, when you walk to it in the funhouse, you get wider and shorter as you walk to it. In a concave mirror, you get taller and skinnier. But when you get closer to it, it goes inverted. You go upside down. You're in the upside down, just like the show. You're in the upside down, right? And people who make a wraparound mirror, you know, concave mirror, and enter like a full-length body thing and spend time in it, they get paranoid. People get scared in that thing. I was reading an article, and it was a show some time ago back in 2016 that dealt with the Santilli telescope, which discovered these biological entities that had never been seen before, supposedly maneuvering around intelligently, because this telescope used concave mirrors instead of the convex ones that they normally use.
Were they macrobes? Were they macrobes?
Well, they might have been. They lived in the upper atmosphere and they moved around intelligently. They might have actually caught that. But this was a 2016 article. It was a scientific journal, and it was other things. Obviously, it caught wind of a lot of people in shows like this. And I haven't heard a lot about it since. I was looking for it earlier. And it was one of those shows that are talking about this. You know how people do sensory deprivation chambers and things like that, of course, and take ayahuasca and then go in these holes like you're talking about in ancient cultures, look up at the sky. But people who try to do that same thing with these concave mirrors freak out, like with no drugs. Like it actually, according to the show, in an article that I read, which I cannot find now, they claim that it was like some kind of like meditative state, but a dark one. Like a scary one.
So
to spend time in
So
there.
it would be like the room that's absolutely silent, that you can't stay in there. It's so quiet that people go crazy and they run out of the room.
Maybe visual version.
Make him the cutest that I've ever seen. Give him 2 lips like roses and clover. Then tell him that his lonesome nights are over.
Mr. Sandman. Yeah, man, what about the Sandman? Rio and I were trying to find this thing because there's always this rumor about this Sandman character that appears to people in the mirror. And so there's this rumor about Eminem and this character, the Sandman, and this and that. And Rio and I were trying to find it, but we really couldn't find anything about Eminem specifically, did we? Did you ever find anything? Hey, look, we got
it just referenced some songs where he mentions the Sandman as being his demon.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's but I mean, Eminem has some serious demon problems.
Well, he did. I did see a picture on when I was looking at this earlier because man, it's been a rumor for a long time. But anyways, while I was looking into it, I noticed that he had 10 years clean and sober. He was showing his 10-year chip in a picture. So I mean, there's some of the thing is like how much of what happened with him was even created. Like there was a certain group of white kids that that had a certain mentality around a certain subject, and he appealed to a lot of people for some reason. I mean, if you look at some of the lyrics of some of his songs and the alter egos, Bruce looks fed up and pissed off over there. And
I'm reacting to a Twitter here.
Well, see, he's not paying attention. That's fine.
Oh, I'm listening.
No, I get it.
But
anyways, Eminem is what I'm saying. Read some of those lyrics, man. I'm just saying, read.
To get them back.
He's got some problems, man. Or he did. I'm saying. Or did he? Who wrote those lyrics? Was he?
Oh yeah. Okay. Here's the lyrics from Demon Inside, which has a reference to the Sandman.
All right, go ahead.
It says, "I'm possessed by evil demons that torture me while I'm sleeping. I keep dreaming of death, and I'm hearing people screaming. The devil's spirit trapped inside me, and I want it out. I'm on the couch bleeding to death in a haunted house. With both of my wrists slit, I'm lifted up in the air and suspended in animation like someone's holding me there. I feel somebody's cold hand wrapping around my neck when I choke on my own blood that I swallow and drown to death." And it goes on from there. It's pretty creepy, about what goes on when the Sandman comes.
Jesus Christ Almighty! I feel like I need to say that 3 times. Jesus Christ Almighty! Jesus
Don't
Christ
say anything
Almighty.
3 times.
Jesus, man! I'm just saying. I mean,
Candyman. Yeah, right.
What do you got to do? The Sandman. It's like, but here, the Mirror is another. I mean, this.
What about Michael Jackson, right? Man in the Mirror. I mean, what's he really saying?
Mirror?
Yeah, exactly. Man in the Mirror. Listen, the Mirror has been a constant. It's like this window into this other. I mean, it's everything that people talk about. It's ghosts. It's like the window.
Well, even the whole concept of scrying, right, is people stare into the mirror until they hallucinate.
Right, which you're never supposed to in psychedelics.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it's not even really a hallucination, maybe, when you stare at it long enough, you start seeing through the other side.
Well, that's the thing, man. If you stare into the abyss too long, you become the abyss, don't you? Isn't that what they say?
Yeah, well, that was part of John Dee's thing.
So there's stories. I was looking at Mirror's history a little bit in Encyclopedia, right? .com or whatever, because getting ready for the show. I mean, I knew a lot of things, but I was curious. Had a really good article. I'll see if I can reference it in the chat here in a minute. But the thing is, they talked about how in ancient cultures, going way, way, way back, they believed that the mirror image was actually your spirit. You could see your spirit that way. And that goes way back, like BC times, right? And then they started to believe that In more classical Greek times, there's the story of Narcissus, right? So Narcissus looks at himself as reflection. He's so enchanted by the reflection in the water that he reaches through the water, which is a metaphor for the spirit realm, and drowns in it, right? So it's not really a story of him falling in the mirror because he wanted to have sex with himself or something like some people make it out to be. No, he saw a spirit image. He reached for it in the water. The water is a metaphor for the spirit realm, and he drowned in the spirit realm. He wasn't able to come back to this world. That's what that story is about.
I just have to note, though, that is actually 100% wrong.
Is it? Oh, good.
Physics. Well, no. I mean, the metaphorical part can't be wrong because a metaphor is not a fact, right? But if you're ever under heavy psychic attack or even demonic attack, what you want to do is submerge yourself in water.
You're right about that, 100%.
Yeah, and
so is that why you look in the mirror before you jump in the shower?
Maybe.
I don't think that's submerging yourself in
no,
water,
but that's pretty funny that we do that by habit, right?
Yeah, and that's why in real Christian baptism they dunk you right in the river, right? It's not just like the Catholics with a little bit of water on your forehead or something.
Right, but it's
actually,
but sort of in reference to the still water and seeing yourself and then reaching in to touch yourself and then disturbing the water and disturbing the reflection of yourself.
Because it's not really water, right? That's the point of that. I think that's the point of that story.
Well, I mean, that was sort of, tie into what I was saying earlier. Like, so, let's say when you pass on from this to the next, from now until the next place you go, you're not the age you are now. You're at your best age. You look your best age or whatever. You're at your best quality or whatever. You just step into this, like you just wake up over there. In other words, you just wake up one day, or you wake up somewhere else, some other time, and you just wake up that day from a dream. You don't know anything happened. You just over there already. You just, boom. You just wake up over there, and you're still yourself. You just wake up.
Right, you go through the other side of the mirror.
Yeah.
Right. So so that's the thing. Like what Bruce just saying, we talked about this in the show about how I found, we talked about it also years ago, but that just a couple, like an inch of salt water in the ocean will eliminate all RF signals, everything. It also will free someone from a demonic, oppression, right, or spirit manipulation. I mean, seriously, you go scuba diving, you dive in the pool or whatever, better in the ocean, but because it has salt in it, but. Yeah, you will break any kind of spell on you for that time.
I'm sorry, man. We're right up against the break. It's Revolution Radio. It's freedomslips.com. Come on down, become a supporter. I'll just tell you, everybody's been around here for 12 years. And day in, day out, 24 hours a day. You can catch Mitch during the week all day. You can catch him Monday through Friday in the morning with Mitch. Going through some of the items in the news, and there's so many other great shows here, so stick around, check them out, and go on and become a supporter. My name's Jimmy. It's Into the Microcosm. We'll be right back.
Brother, help me, please. I'm as lonely as I can be. All my friends are scaring me. But if you forget me, then I will leave. Yeah. Sister, what can I do? I'm in love with Tootsie too. Please excuse me if I am low, but my feelings have to show. People. Hold my hand.
Mom's Jimmy. It's the Independent Broadcast Network. Coming to you live on Revolution Radio. What's up, TalkString Live? What's up, chat rooms? Chat rooms everywhere. IntoTheMicrocosm.com, IBN247.com, FreedomSlips.com. PatTravers.com. Pat Travers kicks ass in the middle of the night or just about any time. I'd recommend a heaping helping of Pat Travers in the middle of the night or just about any time. Mom's Jimmy recommending Pat Travers in the middle of the night or just about any time. So, yeah, we're bending time with a convex mirrored lens, observing reflections of ourselves or reverberations of who we were. I mean, there's people that say the world ended and we're just like a stain or a puff of smoke or a residual, and we're just at some point the energy will just dissipate out of it and it'll just everything will just and suck in to the mirror in your bathroom. I mean, I don't know. Who the hell knows? I don't know what a mirror is, but I'll just tell you this. It's got some properties that are somewhat, seductive. Look at how many people worship themselves in the mirrors, become their own gods in their own narcissistic jungle. Narcissists. Did you ever read Narcissus and Gourmand by Hermann Hesse?
No.
Oh, man.
Narcissus and Golem. Golem.
Yeah, that's what I said.
No, it didn't sound like that.
Oh, well, sorry. I got my microphone stuffed halfway down my
You mentioned it before. I still haven't read it. No, I haven't.
Bruce, have you read it?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I would, however, recommend you first read Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse.
Yeah, of course.
And then after that, Steppenwolf. And then after that, Narcissus and Golem. If you
right, no, yeah, that is the order because, I mean, the way he wrote those books, there's one you're missing, though. There's one that you're missing. Siddhartha is not in the growing into a man collection in that order. You're missing one.
Everyone on this show comes from a generation where 25 years ago you go to a coffee shop,
you're missing
talk about books. Now it's tweets.
You're missing Damien, dude. Damien is an important book in that, and then it's Steppenwolf. Okay, Steppenwolf.
How interesting though. Like I'm just thinking culturally, the band Steppenwolf is named after that book, probably. Damien, is the Omen, right? So there's this contextual thing through society that lags by about 30 years, probably from when the first, not that long.
Well,
we'll figure it out.
Know, it's funny. I'll tell you this, man. I swear to God, this is the truth. If you want to read a magical book, if you really want to read a book, and I mean, you gotta really put effort into this book. I'll tell you right now.
The Language of the Birds?
No, I carried this book around. I kept reading it, and I didn't understand it. You know what I mean? I kept carrying it around. I kept reading it, but it just never took for the longest period of time until one day I understood it when I read it. And once I did, it was an unbelievable book. But even if you didn't understand it just as a story, it's an unbelievable story. It's called The Glass Bead Game. All right? The Glass Bead Game, Hermann Hesse. See if you got a pair. I don't know. And, that goes, both ways or whatever. You gotta, I would just highly recommend the book, man. I'd highly recommend going through that whole series. You know, I mean, people talk about Catcher in the Rye or whatever, but I just say Damien. You know, Damien and then Siddhartha. You see?
So the Glass Bead, though, so that title, I mean, obviously it has triple meanings at least, right? And any good title has more than one meaning, like any good phrase or lyric. But is it talking about the introduction of, like, I don't know, so I'll call it the digital world, but the idea of numerical world. Like so it could be the necklace, the glass beads, a necklace, how a monetary transition, how they sold Manhattan for so many glass beads. Is it talking about the abacus? This was the first thought I had, and obviously there's a sexual connotation. There's all these things, right, that tie into this idea of the glass bead, and so and it's segmented, and that idea of segmented is probably the most important one, I think. What do you think?
Well, I mean, Bruce can attest to this. I mean, you're a big fan of Herman Hesse, apparently, because I've rarely met a person who's read. So
he's well read, man.
I know.
I went through Hesse from like 1921.
Right,
it was
so,
very early in my reading life. Yeah.
There's a lot of revelation about elite society and secret societies, and this and the grooming program that goes on within these sort of societies that existed, and but so the glass bead game was a school that people went to that were all special, and they had to master music, mathematics, basically the quadrivium,
right, the ability to see the unseen to the uninitiated, right?
So
yeah,
also as the general rule, to add to what Jimmy just said there, it's not just Herman Hesse. Literature was actually the first alternative radio, if you know how to read it right. They're giving up everything in literature. Whether Mary Shelley's Frankenstein has a whole new context in the world we're living in today. She wasn't so much for Oh, have you guys ever heard the story of how that book got written?
No,
I did.
She wrote the manuscript. She wrote the manuscript in like one weekend, with Shelley and Byron in a castle with her, and some other woman, and they were tripping on some whatever narcotics they have back then. You guys know anything about Lord Byron? Total nut bar. Lord Byron. Total nut bar.
Absinthe. Were they drinking absinthe?
No, it was heavier than absinthe.
Yeah, it was something I'd never heard of at the time.
He went into some kind of trance and wrote the whole thing. And when we say write, at the time this book was written, we're not talking about a MacBook Pro 32-inch with an M1 chip and autocorrection on your spelling. I mean, like, bottle of ink, a feather.
Well,
you wrote the whole manuscript.
Well,
it was auto-written. It was auto-written, right? It was that's the whole thing. It was channeled. Yeah, completely.
So here's the thing though. With all of this though, any of these authors throughout time that you ever heard of, there was only one way to get published, and you had to go through a certain filtering program, and so that filtering mechanism, that's always been there. And it kind of ties in. It kind of ties in.
Gas station in Hollywood, Jimmy.
Yeah, like that. No,
okay.
But 54. Yeah.
No, but I mean,
you had to go behind the cold warehouse in old England.
Well, listen, I'll tell you what, man. That is exactly where we're going, because what we're going to be talking.
Oh, not again.
Yeah, what we're going to be talking about here in the third hour is, I mean, you hear the reverberation of mockingbirds in the echo chamber of mediocrity, Bruce. People are starving. They're crawling across the desert on their hands and knees. They're looking for some substance, and all they hear are mockingbirds in the echo chamber, kind of like reflections in a house of mirrors. There's a lot of talk, but there's really no substance. People are talking loud and saying nothing. All the sound and fury of an idiot, signifying nothing, or something to that effect.
World is a tale full of sound and fury, told by a fool, and signifying nothing. The world is a tale told by a fool, full of sound and fury and signifying nothing.
Right.
That's exactly.
The woods are dark and also deep, and I've got miles to go before I sleep. So, epic.
But I have miles to go before I sleep.
Right. So listen.
Thinking of killing myself, by the way. Suicide poem.
What was what was that movie, Epic Journeyman? Where the guy would call you up and just the phone would ring. You know, people are just kicking kicking
telephone.
They're just sitting there. They're just sitting there watching TV, eating popcorn. All of a sudden, the phone rings, and there's some guy on the other end. The woods are dark and also deep, but I've got miles to go before I sleep. And then the dude would just get up, like, you know, with his hands in front of himself. I'll be back in a minute, honey. He goes out for a pack of smokes and never comes back. It's frightening, man. Frightening. All right. Well,
we had real screenwriters back in those days, you know.
All right, but listen. But, I mean, I'm just joking. But, yeah, seriously, though. That is. But what we're going to be talking, it's 11:11 on the West Coast, the dark Santa Cruz Mountains in the middle of the night. Revolution Radio, IBN, Independent Broadcast Network, come to you live. So in the event, so one day you're going along as a country, and you're minding your own business, and then all of a sudden you just get a wild hair up your ass and decide, you know, what we really need is intelligence. You know, we really need to analyze what's going on in the world and then be able to come at it intelligently with our weapons. And, you know, after World War II, you know, America was really the only country that was intact for the most part. So all of a sudden, Truman comes in with Rio. What was it, the Missouri Gang they came in with?
Yeah, the Missouri Gang.
Yeah. Truman comes in with the Missouri Gang, and they do this, like, national security agreement similar to what we see with the Patriot Act in a way. Because what it brought in was this new, well, we'll just refer to it tonight as the company, man. The company. No, the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, was formed. And so what we kind of wanted to discuss tonight is that, you know, you hear this echo chamber of the deep state, but really all you see is reflections and rumors and, you know, smoke. Smoke and mirrors. That's why they call it smoke and mirrors, because they use it to trick you or to deceive you into believing something that's happening that's not actually there. It's not actually happening. So in the sense of smoke and mirrors and putting you in a trance, these agencies that are formed back in the day, when do they go past the point of no return? In other words, when there was more to Nixon and Deep Throat, you know, when Deep Throat gave up some information to these guys who wrote that book, the book was written specifically for political reasons. So they only cherry-picked out the information that Deep Throat was bringing to the table to satisfy their political ends. But the whole thing that Deep Throat was talking about was the bringing together of the CIA and the FBI and the NSA and all these agencies all brought together. They were coming together, and that they didn't want to see that happen. But the thing is that's exactly what happened. And so the thing is like, for example, let's say you're the CIA and you go to Congress and you say, listen, we need some money. We got to there's this drug problem. We got to deal with it. You know, we need some money or whatever it is. I don't care whatever it is, but you get this money. And once you get it, you're the one busting people. So you just go out there and take that money and do the same thing the gangs are doing and the drugs, and you get involved and you start making millions and millions of dollars. And pretty soon, you know, you start amassing these giant funds. I mean, that's what the Iran-Contra hearings were all about, man. You know, and what's this nuts is still out there walking around. What was that dude's name? The main dude that they went after, and Colonel what's his nuts?
Major at the time. Yeah. He's on a radio show now. Actually.
Yeah. That guy. Yeah. He's still out there walking around. But I'm just saying, at what point? Listen.
Aquino was involved in that too. You know, he was a courier for some of that stuff. No joke.
If he who has the gold rules, then these agencies could, you know, at any given point in time, they reached the point of no return a long time ago, where the amount of money that they're able to generate worldwide from their operations, they could literally buy anything, and they have bought everything. And you know, it's been going on for a long time. I mean, any business you look at, I don't care what it is, you know, the first 3 floors are, you know, the business itself, and the top floors are, you know, somebody else, you know. What's going on in those cubicles on floor 7 through 15, I don't know. Nobody knows, you know, unless you work there. You know, so I mean, the whole idea of Hollywood being a set and everything being already wired and you know, those mirrors, those were two-way mirrors over there. Those really were two-way mirrors. And
you know what's cool about that? I had to point this out. It's a one-way mirror for the person on the other side. There is no reflection. It's looking through the mirror. Right?
Yeah. That's trippy. I never really thought about
it. It is.
I never thought about that. But I'm just saying, I mean, at the point that you have all the money, what is now possible for you? I mean, is Google or any of these companies, are they ever companies? Are they wholly owned and subsidiaries of, you know, the the company, man? The company, dude. You know,
we go back to Lewis Carroll, and Lord Byron and all those people. I mean, yeah, totally. This predates what we call the company now, for sure.
Well, what about right after World War II and Project Paperclip and the company? You know, what about George Bush era and all these Stasi people coming in here, and then the Homeland Security where they did what? Meld them all together, didn't they? Just like Deep Throat was saying.
Right, and the space race took all those people, you know, actual Nazis, and put them in there. So, yeah, I mean, and so there was a Nazi takeover. The Nazis didn't lose World War II; they just moved. They moved over here. So that's been said a lot. The late great Jim Marrs brought it up in his book, The Fourth Reich, and I think he's right about that.
And they bought up all the publishing houses after that, but you know, like these books didn't get published unless they were Fabian socialists, were the ones that were promoted, and the stories about the future were in line with what were, you know, hey man, hey Bruce, could somebody call you one day and go, hey Bruce, you're a writer, man. Hey man, I need a book. You know, it's got to be about the future. Okay, I want it to be a dark theme. I want there to be totalitarian regimes in a borderless government with digital currencies, and you know, where heads get bashed in, you know, and people just don't follow the program. They get you know, sent down to cloud 1. You know, if you're the high producer, you have value, you're on cloud 9. And if you're not in cloud 9, you're not getting into the smart city. You think you could write a story like that for me?
Well, I mean, if you paid me, sure, but it's not something I would voluntarily write. I wouldn't want to spend 6 months or a year.
Well, what if you were in a society of writers? You're in a pool, like Fabian socialists, and they just said, "Listen."
Oh yeah,
or like Shakespeare.
Exactly, Shakespeare.
Pool of writers, right?
Exactly, Shakespeare's a pool of writers, just like the Fabian socialists. Shakespeare is just another word for Fabian socialist. No, I'm just kidding. But
I guess Orwell would be the most notable example of that group, right? This is what we're talking about.
Well, we could be talking about it, but yeah, I mean, I'm just saying these groups are controlled by dollars and cents, man. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. And so, your book may never get seen. I mean, at the where we are now in the world in 2023, it's possible for you to write a book and people to see it. Okay, but even just 50 years ago, it wasn't possible for you to write a book. You write a book, but you can write a book, but it's never going to get in a bookstore. No one's ever going to see it. It's not going to be on a display when you go walking into whatever those bookstores used to be. They used to be there that aren't there anymore. You can literally buy books by the pound, ladies and gentlemen. Books by the pound. No shit. You can buy them. I'm telling you.
Love going to used bookstores in Toronto. One of my favorite hobbies.
You're breaking up.
Seriously?
You're breaking up.
You break it up a little bit. Yeah, but no, Bruce is right. You saying it was one of his best hobbies. I heard that part, going to the used bookstore. And, one of my... I read like the Carlos Castaneda books when I was a teenager, and the Tibetan Book of the Dead and the Egyptian Book of the Dead and all that stuff, trying to figure things out because I was drawn to that kind of thing. And this idea of letting yourself be guided, right? Just I'd walk through a record store and like just pick something off the shelf without even looking, and I buy it. I look at if it's enticed by the cover. And it ended up being really great, right? And the same thing would happen at bookstores. And I found, now that's scary because you're opening yourself up to, external influence, whether from another realm, right? You are, I think, when you do that. But it's also amazing how many things you find that way. So part of it is your inner self, which is, part of the super spectrum is tied into the everything, everywhere, all at once, right? So you're a part of all those, parts of the multiverse. And so you are directed to the thing that is most important to you at the time, and that's good. But there's also the ability for outside influence to come in there. And the idea of this mirror we're talking about what is interesting because that mirror has been replaced by the telephone, right? The black mirror of the phone we've talked about. But what it allows you to do is project. So people look into it and see your projection, not unlike what was happening with the black mirror, which was because what they were doing was trying to, like an interferometer in a telescope today, you filter out everything you don't want to see just what you want. See, and that's where the outside bad influence comes from. It always ends up dark, right? It always does.
Well, it's a dark landscape, ladies and gentlemen. It's into the microcosm in the middle of the night. We got about 30 minutes left now. Now listen, I know it's unbelievable as this may sound, but Epic Journeyman, the CIA was involved in art.
Yes, it was.
So now would you say one of the characters of Studio 54, who was an artist, would you say he was part of the CIA program of making art ugly and ridiculous?
Maybe, because he was one of the few people that literally had his own table, right? That people would come gather at a time when it was set up to be this place where people like that came. When it first started in 1950, I believe it was. So the Museum of Modern Art, right, in New York. It turns out the whole thing was financed and brought about by the agency we were talking about earlier, right? The company.
The company, man.
And they started this whole thing. They needed to have 3 degrees of separation so people wouldn't chase it back. That was the minimum, right? And it was called the Congress for Cultural Freedom, or the CCF. In the CCF, people didn't know what that was. Oh, it's just some kind of cool thing, this donating money to these art museums. Oh, well, look it up. Oh, it's the Congress for Cultural Freedom. That sounds kind of good. It can't be bad, right? But we were talking about the importance of memes before people coined the term before, and the importance of patterns and impressions on the psyche, and how these things become even the basis of things like logographic languages, right, in the Far East, are based upon these words being shown through pictures, or even pictograms in ancient society. So these things make impressions on the psyche. So it's important to get these impressions out there so that it can influence a mass of people. And they knew exactly what they were doing, right? And they created modern art. Modern art was made by the company, literally.
Well, like Kevin Pollak, like this kind of shit. Like what made art valuable? What made the tomato can
Well, it's the backing of the people they had with them. So, like in everything, it turns out people envy the wealthy, and you need a good promoter. And the Museum of Modern Art had a good one. It was Nelson Rockefeller. We talk about the Rockefellers all the time, but Nelson Rockefeller literally financed this thing, and he was working in conjunction with the CCF, the Congress of Cultural Freedom, i.e., the company. So here's a direct relationship between what we call the New World Order before it's called that, or the World Economic Forum before it's called that, or Agenda 2030 before it's called that, of people in the know trying to achieve a particular objective and do it through making impressions on the subconscious, using Jungian philosophy and psychology to achieve it, right? And things that we didn't have a name at the time. That was the closest they had at the time. But they knew what they were doing through experiments they did, which are, they call it a black project because nobody's supposed to know about them, right? We have no idea how many people got hurt in the process of doing this. But this was the culmination of it, and nobody that was working on that project as an artist had any idea that they were working for the company at the time. But the very anarchy they were trying to project, the very freedom they were trying to sow into the world, say, "Look, we could do these kind of things." No, they were being direct. They were nudged.
It was the
just
same
like social
thing.
media today. They were nudged.
It was the same thing. It's interesting that Warhol is tied into not only that with the ugly art, but he's also tied into the Studio 54 thing too.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, it's table there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like, so this is all tied together. I mean, here I got this Grateful Dead clip. I want to play for everybody. This is a couple minutes. Listen, it's not the music. Okay, these guys are sitting around and they're talking about a concert that never happened. This concert never happened, but there's people around that say they were at the concert. So what was said about this particular concert was that there was like a 50,000 watt AM radio station that was owned by Disney, and that they used this 50,000 watt blowtorch to go into people's skulls, make them think they were at a concert. And this is a clip of Bob Weir sitting there with his buddy talking about the show that never happened. This is I'm just boning in on it right now. I haven't honed in on the exact moment, so let me get in here and see what's going on. It's Into the Microcosm. Bruce McDonald's here. You can find his books on Amazon. Epic Journeyman's here. Rock and Rio's here. I'm here. You're here. We're all here. We got 30 minutes left. Let you listen to this here.
It was all of January and some of February that we were in.
Right. All right, hang on.
All these guys in there because everybody just kept popping out.
Shut up.
No. It was Buddy Miles.
No, Buddy Miles. Buddy Miles was
Hang on. Hang on.
It happened anytime
That's close.
that we were in the studio because every day, the studio was every day.
Jesus.
We were all waiting for him to get it, and then he was.
I'm sorry, you guys. I don't have this all lined up. This just
We're
happened.
all out there after dinner throwing our dinner rolls out there, and the alligators are rising and grabbing them, right?
All right, here it comes. Here it comes.
First version of Passenger, which is pretty cool. First dead version of Iko Iko. It just kind of slipped in. The Not Fade Away beat started. Getting into this.
So this is not the legendary Cornell University.
We don't have those tapes in the vaults until we do. But
All right, here it is. This is not the legendary Cornell University show that never happened. Okay, this video.
Before we go,
go ahead.
I have to point out that the original voice-to-skull technology, as we know it today, the literal thing, was pioneered in America at Cornell University in 1948.
That's right. And let me just say this, ladies and gentlemen. What's wrong with a little mind control as long as you're having a good time? That's what these guys are about to say. You can find this. It's called Grateful Dead. We're Here is the name of the show. You type in Bob Weir's last name. We're Here, telling tales of spring of 77. 7 minutes and 48 seconds into this video is where the real juicy stuff comes out.
Talk about that.
What Cornell show?
Well, the Cornell.
The Cornell show. Slowly
come on. It's been a long time. I think it's unclassified.
Okay.
We can let them know that
I think it's unclassified. What the deal is that legendary Cornell show never happened.
It is true.
You know,
we never wanted to tell
a lot
anybody.
of folks think they were there. All these folks. If you think you were there, just ask yourself, were you in a 7-Eleven or a Burger King or something like that, and somebody came up to you, somebody from the company, came up to you and said, "Hey, wait, you look like just the kind of guy who might dig this hat," and it was sort of a kind of a well-made, sort of semi-elegant tinfoil hat. And if you people would put it on.
Style at the time.
Well, this is the first time we're ever talking about this, man.
Well,
They told us
it's
not
not
to talk
classified
about it.
anymore. We can talk about
It's
it.
been 35 years.
And
Wait, is the CIA? They're gone, right? Oh, no, they
the
know
company,
everything.
man, the company.
That's right. They're listening anyway. It don't matter now.
You see how he gets all pissed? He goes, his road buddy over on the couch, he goes, the CIA, and then all of a sudden, Bob Weir gets all pissed and looks at him. He goes, "The company, man, the company." He's all pissed off, and then we went a couple steps beyond this. Here, let me let this finish out, and then I'll tell you about this other thing we found also on this. Here you go.
They hear everything, right?
So the company had us do. We were playing over here in San Rafael at Front Street, our studio.
So they were in San Rafael, California, at the studio, when they played this show that never happened, and people swear to God right now today there's people out there that say they were at this show. The show never happened.
And it was a very successful experiment. People still to this day think that concert actually happened.
They enjoyed themselves too.
And they enjoyed themselves thoroughly, and that's the great thing, man.
That's a good thing to use mind control for, to make people have a good time, I think.
Man,
that's a good thing to use mind control for, to make people have a good time. I themselves too.
And they enjoyed themselves thoroughly, and that's the great thing, man.
That's a good thing to use mind control for, to make people have a
thoroughly, and that's the great thing, man.
That's a good thing to use mind control for, to make people have a good time, I think.
Absolutely. I mean,
if you're going to have a good time.
Where's the downside there?
Everybody thinks that you guys played great that night too, man.
Yeah, good memories.
Okay, there is an obscure testimony from a guitar player from the Grateful Dead. And, their road manager, Steve Parrish, later on, there's a documentary called The Grateful Dead's Wall of Sound. And there is their road manager, Steve Parrish, talking about working with the company, man. So I mean,
with Oswald Bear Stanley at Stanford University, absolutely, it's 100% true.
100%.
No, it is.
Just think about all the psychedelic artwork that went into the Grateful Dead, right? With the spirals and the rainbow colors and the acid trip visions.
Yeah, exactly. Now there was a whole thing up in San Francisco, the CIA or the company, man, the company. Yeah, the acid whorehouse experiment. In San Francisco, California.
I need to point out before we go those images at the Museum of Modern Art in New York. The company had been experimenting with LSD for 20 years at that point, or more. They knew exactly
all those melted pictures and weird distortions. That's all hallucination, right?
Right, and so we're talking about they opened in 1950. The organization was started in 1947, but the people involved have been using that substance and experimenting with people and recording the images they saw as well as their own for decades before it opened. Not decades, good 15 years before it actually opened.
Well, I think it's interesting too because the whole melting thing is the opposite of what happens when the AI is creating art. It melts. It's already melted and it comes out, as opposed to melting away. It comes from the away into an image, reforms itself. It's kind of like a reverse melting.
A concave mirror.
You know what I mean? The reverse melting of the black hole of oblivion, dancing on the edge of reality. And the microcosm, Bruce McDonald, Epic Journeyman, and Rockin' Rio sitting over there He's got it. I know you got something good over there, dude. I know it's over there, but it doesn't sound like the Epic Journeyman's quite ready to let go. He's like a pit bull when he gets.
No, I'm ready. Go ahead.
No, man. I just want to make sure we get this art thing figured out, because I mean, when you got to look at how granular. Okay, listen. Art may seem low tech, but guess what, man? That's how it was done.
Well, we'll tie this into a little bit of what we're going to talk about tomorrow night with the Beatles, right?
Yeah.
Because they had a whole bunch of that psychedelic rainbow art going on with them too. And obviously the Beatles is more Tavistock than Stanford, but they're all associated with each other. They're all the same pieces of the company working together.
Well, let's
and you know, when we get into the Beatle thing tomorrow, you know, there'll be more to tie in with the psychedelic art experience.
Let's just point out, though, listen, psychological operations were going on with art long before the CIA took it over. Okay? See, that's what happens with every single thing.
But it's the acid trip.
Whatever happens organically that takes over like a trend, whenever that trend pops its head up anywhere, that is when the company zooms in on it, okay? Uses some of their billions and zillions of dollars to form a company around it, and then, boom, they take it over, and they steer it. They take it away, just like when you saw Public Enemy, you know? You saw this rise of Black Power, this recognition of Africa and all this other, Malcolm X and all this different shit was going on, stirring up the population or whatever. Man, boom, they switched that to bitches and hoes. You know what I mean? Got a bunch of people wearing their pants around their ass. Dragging their cuffs, man. Sliding their oversized, sandals on the ground, not lifting their feet up. Like you got chains around your ankles. We're in an open air prison. On our way down into the gutter. Bruce's mustache is getting thicker as I speak. But I just want to say, these operations, they're granular, and they've once it's figured out, and then it's made into a question that needs to be solved by intellectuals and philosophers, and it's thrown out there, and answers come back. Answers come back about the likelihood of an outcome. And the odds of the company winning on their bets are improved, because simply think about someone who can figure out how to rob a 21 game, who can sit there and count cards. Think if you were the best card counter in the world, and then think if you could just get that card counter to count cards for you whenever you wanted them to. Because that's what's going on when you take and you put these machine learning aspects in this GPT-3 and all the stuff we've been talking about. You put that all together, and that's what you have. What you have is a human being who's been thoroughly examined to the point that simple things like what you click on in a given circumstance, if you're given 3 choices, if you click a certain choice, that puts you in a certain category. Just simply by the picture that it's put there in front of you. So just like we were talking about with memes, we were talking about the logos, we're talking about the art and the striking of the logos, or the energy frequency that you receive. It's like when you look at some of this older art before this takeover of the ugly, the postmodernist deconstruction platform. This buildings went from being nice and sweet and curved, to being square boxes where you just go live and die in your 8-foot box over there. All the people, all the thinking people, their ceilings are 10 foot or higher because you need headroom to think. You know, when you're all boxed in that 8x8 box, it squashes your aura and puts you in this little box with a two-way mirror. It's like an acid whorehouse, Rio. Oh,
Yeah.
And speaking of acid whorehouses, the company, man. The company.
About the company.
What happened up in San Francisco with the acid whorehouses, man? Because I've been waiting to talk about this all night. It's only 20 minutes left. Of this.
Well,
What happened? I mean, so the company. Let me foreshadow the acid whorehouse discussion. Now, so because the company was involved, and this is pre Playboy Mansion, Southern California action. And this was tied into that. So what they did was they set up a whorehouse with two-way mirrors, cameras. They set it all up, and they basically dosed all these guys that were going in to get laid. And
yeah, it was actually called Operation Midnight Climax.
Over here, we just call that the Del Rey Hotel in San Jose.
Well, so tell us about Midnight Climax.
Look it up online, kids. I think they have cameras inside there. Like a Bond movie.
All right, let's hear about Midnight Climax.
Well, it was the top secret mind control program, which they used hookers or unsuspecting guys from the bars in that area up to the brothel, and then dosed them with LSD, right? And they watched them through two-way mirrors while, sitting in portable toilets. And, it was pretty much what they did. It was a test. It was a drug test. It was an experiment test. And they were, spying on them.
And they learned how to manipulate men by using this particular different aspects of this sexual manipulation. What they found out was this and that about the psychology behind it. And then they used that specific information that they learned from to create the Playboy Bunny model down in Southern California.
I got to talk about the man behind the mirror when we get a chance.
There you go, the man behind the mirror. Let me just say this. I mean,
but go ahead, Jimmy. Because we talked about it a little bit before, but I want to point out to the audience who it was and where he ended up.
Okay, I want you to do that in one moment, because what I want to say to you is, what's to make you think at the Whiskey A Go-Go every mirror wasn't a two-way mirror?
What about, we talking about Studio 54
there you
too,
go,
right?
Studio 54.
Same thing.
Exactly.
Full of mirrors.
Exactly. House of Mirrors, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead, Epic Journeyman.
So the person behind the mirror in Operation Midnight Climax was a guy named Dr. Jolly West. And Dr. Jolly West got off, literally. He had, his own personal toilet installed, all kinds of accessories and everything, watching these people that he manipulated with LSD and the hookers doing their deeds with them. So later on, he ended up working as an undercover, which didn't work, college student running a health clinic in the Haight-Ashbury. And one of his clients was Manson, Charlie Manson. Direct tie to Charlie Manson, to Midnight Climax, to this operation, who later has ties to Playboy. And Playboy ended up being completely wired for sound, photographed, and videotaped for its entirety. Nothing short of a prison, really. A clinic, and just an operation from the get-go.
And don't forget about Abby Hoffman too. He was involved in that as well with the LSD. And what was the other guy's name? Gottlieb, Cindy
Gottlieb. Yeah, I don't think he's real. I think that, you know what I mean. I think he's an entity they made up and hired some guy to portray him, who didn't speak English well and had speaking difficulties, had a stutter, and that was his problem supposedly. And why he didn't make public appearances, but showed up in the church commission. Cindy Gottlieb. He is the company man, literally.
Oh yeah, and of course that whole project was approved by Alan Dulles. So
Who's at the cat? We had to goes back to the Sands of the Nine, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So there you go. Alan Dulles, who probably is
Number
intimately
9.
involved with the Kennedy
Number
assassination.
9. Number 9.
Number 9.
Number 9. Yep.
Tomorrow night, ladies and gentlemen, intothemicrocosm.com. You can go to ibn247.com. And we're going to be dipping into the Beatles tomorrow night because there's more to the Beatles than meets the eye. I know a lot of people hate the Beatles for whatever reason. And, you know, I mean, at this point, we were talking about it the other day. At this point, if you're like 50 and over, you know, music, maybe even 45 and over, music you listen to now, music you listen to, younger people, that shit is like when you were a kid and you used to be in the car, your parents used to be listening to oldies and stuff from the 50s. That's what it's like when you play Zeppelin or whatever. That's what that shit is like to younger people, man. It's like people have moved on. Younger people are ready to move into a future where they live in that cubicle, get that universal income. They don't own cars. They don't own anything. And they eat crickets. They don't give a shit. They just don't want to put up with any more of this nonsense. And on some level, who can blame them, you know? I mean, why is there a classic rock station in every city? Are there that many young people, like, driving around listening to, like, Zeppelin? You know, Stairway to Heaven? You know, how many songs does Zeppelin have? You know, it's been narrowed down to one, Zeppelin. You know, you get a classic, you know what I mean? Stairway to Heaven. You know what I mean? It's just...
Well, but Clear Channel, too, and what's in the name, right? Clear Channel, is it related to Scientology? Is it what is this Clear Channel thing, right? It needs to be looked at, man.
Well,
it does.
It's a clear channel into your mind.
Exactly. What did they learn?
Right.
What Operation Midnight Climax? What was the ultimate? You know what they say now on these shows. There's a takeaway. What was the takeaway of the acid whorehouse, man? What was the ultimate takeaway? Was the psychology of the human male figured out in that? There's links coming in. Whoever sent that, pipe in.
Oh, I don't know who sent that. Well, I mean, Operation Midnight Climax was all about controlling men by their hormones. That was what the whole study was really about. So, you know, give you some psychedelics and then entice your hormones, and we've got you under our thumb. We can do whatever we want.
We sussed out ultimately, because of that acid party we found, the video with Timothy Leary sitting around with Aldous Huxley and a bunch of scientists and Bear Stanley talking about LSD. And, you know, there he was sitting there telling everybody how they were going to change Americans into pleasure seekers. And it was during the listening to that over and over again.
Oh, well, that was Yuri Bezmenov.
No, that wasn't. Wasn't it? It was Timothy Leary at a party. And he said that, you know, he was going to turn people into pleasure seekers. And I was saying, it was in that, listening to that video over and over again, was when we came to the determination that it was dopamine. The dopamine aspect of the LSD was what they were looking at. And
but Bezmenov had brought that up, too, as how they were going to subvert America.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I'm not talking about something totally different. I'm talking about dopamine and the reason for the LSD injection into the population to see the effects of this dopamine. And we're in the age now where they've eliminated the actual taking of the LSD, and they've injected the same effect of this hypnosis LSD type effect on the population through the dopamine injection on the internet from these likes.
Every nudge is a microdose.
That's what I mean. Every
yeah, it really is, right?
And the Yuri Bezmenov thing is definitely the same, is in the same realm, bro. But I was talking about this actual chemical reaction that we have when
right.
you know.
And how do they get you to keep your dopamine hit coming? They keep you scrying at your little black mirror that's in your hand, scrolling.
Or scrying.
Right. Exactly.
And that was Rock and Rio right there, bringing it back around. It's almost time to get out. So Rock and Rio tomorrow night. Paul.
Well, and the rest of the Beatles too.
Fall.
Paul and Fall. And, we'll get into some reverse stuff. We will hit the Paul is dead controversy.
Yeah, man.
And of course, some of the psychedelia and the LSD and the company that gets involved in that too.
The company, man.
The company, man.
I found
and of course, Screechy Yoko.
I found a really good documentary series, and it reminded me of Evidence of Revision, which is a series of tape from things that happened, and they were just news chunks and stuff that you just didn't ever see. They never got in heavy rotation in the operation, so you never saw the stuff. But then when you see it in retrospect and you hear what people were saying when it happened, you realize that there's evidence of revision. And this is the same thing. I saw a bunch of interviews put together that I'd never seen before, and one of them was like John talking about different stuff, like just point blank talking about the Beatles breaking up and all this stuff, and he's like, years from now, when they talk about it, it doesn't say it's because Yoko sat on an amplifier in one of the recording sessions or whatever, and this and that. And it was just funny. And then it just openly talking about doing stuff in reverse.
Oh yeah,
I mean, it's going to be a good one, so make sure you come on over and tune in.
Well, like everybody knows about the number 9 and the the ones that you hear about often, but when you start looking into the outlying stuff, like some of the Wings songs and some of Paul McCartney's solo stuff, and even George Harrison, he made some statements and some things in reverse that pretty interesting. Far as that goes.
I'll tell you one thing, man. There's a video.
Give us a hint, Rio. What are we dealing with here? The Devil's Hoof?
What's
going on here?
No, even George Harrison had reversals in his solo music about Paul being dead.
Yeah, I mean, there's a video of the fake Paul sitting there in an interview, and Linda McCartney's sitting there below him, like he's sitting in a chair, and she's sitting there kind of like on the floor or on a pillow or something, and she's sitting there, and it's like, it's a wide shot, so you see Paul or Fall or Bill or whatever the hell that guy's name is.
Yeah,
you see
William
him,
Campbell.
Yeah, you see him, and when he's talking and the answers he's given about being Paul and how the thing about Paul is dead, because he went around saying shit about it. Like they were asking, every time he'd go somewhere, somebody would ask him about it. And this is one of those times somebody was interviewing him, they asked him about it. Linda's sitting there, and he's telling the story. The look on her face, says it all, man.
Well, there was one reporter that had asked him about it, and he says, I just can't remember. And while he's holding the microphone talking about he can't remember, he's got his middle finger up.
Yeah,
He's flipping her off. He's like flipping her to bird, like, I'm not talking about this no more.
Yeah. That's a good one too, man. Yeah, no, there's a lot of clues there, man. A lot.
And they met didn't they meet at the Metropolitan Museum of Art? And she had a display there, and you had to walk up like on a ladder and look down on the painting.
Yes,
I'm pretty sure that's the story, right?
That is the story. Yes, that was with John and Yoko.
Yeah,
and most people don't realize it, but Yoko was a CIA asset. So
Say it ain't so, bro. Seriously, you just blew my mind. And that's a hard thing to do on Into the Microcosm. Are you shitting me?
That's where the word "yo" comes from. No,
absolutely. When you look into Yoko's ties to the company and who assassinated Paul, there's some pretty not Paul who assassinated John. There's some pretty deep ties in
Hinckley.
there.
And
No,
yeah,
not Hinckley.
yeah.
The wrong guy. John
Well-
Hinckley Jr. was Reagan assassination.
Was
It
Reagan.
is. Yeah, the other guy. But yeah, that's the Catcher of the Rye stuff comes in. 'cause he carries-
yeah. But he's tied to George Bush, right? Wasn't he?
Yes, he is.
John
So
Hinckley.
why? Okay, I gotta ask. Okay, why would they kill him if he was already a controlled asset of Tavistock and MI6? Did he break his programming? Like, why would they kill him?
Yes, that's exactly what
Okay.
it was. He wanted out.
He also
I
lived.
will. I will join tomorrow's show.
Fantastic. It'll
He
be-
lived in the building that they filmed the exterior from in Rosemary's Baby, actually.
That I did know.
Dakota.
The Dakota.
Yeah, and it was 1980, right? So it's 666 also when you break it up. So there's all kinds of gematria stuff. Not that I'm a gematria guy, but it adds up for that too. No pun intended. And 9, by the way, multiplied by any number in American gematria rather, always adds to 9.
Yeah,
Thus
it,
number
was,
9.
it was Mark David Chapman, by the way.
That's what I was looking for. Yeah,
And
it's always
and-
three names, right? Always three names.
Oh, well, of course. Every serial killer has 3 names.
Didn't he have dinner with George Bush or something?
Yes, he did. Chapman was real tied to the Bush family quite closely.
Yeah, I think he had dinner with him. All right, listen, it's time for us to get out.
And of course, Daddy Senior, part of the company. So
the company, man.
The company. It's all
Hey,
about the company.
What's wrong with the little mind control as long as you're having a good time, man? It's into the microcosm, man. We'll see ya. Thanks for being here. We appreciate every one of you. Make sure you become a supporter of Revolution Radio.
Whatsoever I feel has come to light, and whatsoever I thought of became my life. Just when every day seemed to greet me with a smile, sun's about to fade in. Now I'm doing time. Now I'm doing time.
Stay safe.
You say that you're damned. You say that your life isn't fair. What's right and what's wrong? You got your needs and you just don't care. On and on we drift back to where we were before. You can welcome me in. I will not walk through that door. Oh no, no. I may be blind, but I'll find my way. Oh yeah, like a lost prayer on a stormy day. Oh, stormy day.
There he goes. Zach Wild. Lost Prayer. See you, Zach. All right. It's Independent Broadcast Network. It's into the microcosm. Thanks, everybody, for being here tonight. We appreciate you all. We appreciate everything. And I think there's ways to support over there, but I'm too tired. Getting ready to go home now. Bruce is already gone. Epic Journeyman's still here. Rock and Rio. Don't forget Epic Journeyman Insights coming up this Sunday. What do you got?
That's right.
What do you got coming up on your Insight this week, Epic?
Oh, it's gonna be kind of a secret a little bit, but it's kind of funny. You cued in. We must be tuned in a little bit tonight for tomorrow's show. Probably a little bit. It's not about the Beatles though, but yeah, it does link to them, and it should be good. I hope. So we'll see.
Badass. Well, we are on the same wavelength, man. That's why we've been together for so long, the three of us, and Bruce, and now Chris. Man, you know, it's like we were a three-piece, and then we added a fourth rhythm guitar player, and now we brought Chris, the keyboard player. We're turning into one of those.
The fifth Beatle.
You're the fifth Beatle, dude. Chris,
yeah.
He's over there. He's been there all night, man, and he's fucking all night long. And I mean, what time is it where you are right now? It's
8 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, it's midnight here. So now I know. I was gonna have Christopher Everhart on the show one time, and we couldn't figure out what time he was gonna be on. It's like I was like, dude, you're like the OG of research. If I say midnight Pacific, you can't just figure out it's 8 a.m. at your time. I don't know. We couldn't figure it out anyway. So it was funny though. I thought just because he is the OG. But anyway, so you guys ready to GTFO, man? Because I really need to get inside and get something to eat. I can't feel my feet. I've turned into Peg Leg Pete with 2 peg legs.
Yeah, man.
Can't fight that. Yeah.
No. All right, but we'll be back. Yeah, go ahead.
Somebody in the chat just asked, is Bruce Pete Best? No, but I've actually seen Pete Best and talked to him a little bit.
So Chris, does this show gonna rerun like 12 hours from now in the morning?
Yeah, it'll go tomorrow. Yeah, it'll be on tomorrow's schedule.
Okay, cool. So like it'll just like run until when? Until like Monday or something, and then I'll change it out.
It'll be this this next day's best of the microcosm. So I'll just
sweet, kick ass, man. Chris has been kicking ass over there.
Yeah, good job, Chris.
Yeah, man.
We're having fun. Yeah. Lots more good stuff coming.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and I'll get the radio show together better for Sunday too, so you guys can call in. Maybe do we have a call-in number for the show, or how's that going to work?
We got our call-in number, so I'll be happy to help you, dude. Just
so yeah, we'll
wait a
arrange
minute.
it ahead of time.
Oh, wait a minute. I can't help you Sunday because I start my new gig.
Oh, okay. No. So guys, I'll pre-record the beginning for sure, just make sure it doesn't slip up. And then we'll go from there. But yeah, it should be interesting. It should be good.
All right. Well, Chris can maybe give you help too.
Because it was a rough start last weekend. I don't know how it ended up sounding overall, but the last minute for us supposed to boot up, it wouldn't let me onto the network. Like, what the hell?
Tonight on the schedule after this show is going to be the concerts with Chris from the UK, and it's going to be Sinful Saturday. And we got Judas Priest Rising from the East, the entire concert. And then I have the Night Rider show after that, and I'm loading up a bunch of stuff in there. We're going to start that show with Salisbury Hill, Peter Gabriel on Genesis.
Nice.
For old Bruce.
All right. Well, geez, let's get the hell out, man.
Thanks, everybody. Support free independent media. And just help us out as much as possible.
I can't feel my legs, man.
Programs in person.
Run this electricity over here. Today's the coldest night in the UK since I've been here. 25 degrees Fahrenheit.
My legs.
It's all the way down to 70 degrees here.
All right, don't rub it in, you prick. All right, we'll see you tomorrow night. Epic, you're gonna be here, right?
Yeah, I'll try to. Try the playoffs. Yeah.
Fuck the playoffs, man.
Never was a cornflake girl. Thought that was a good solution, hanging with the raisin girls. She's gone to the other side, giving us a yo-yo. Things are getting kind of gross, and I go at sleepy time. This is not really, this is not really happening. You bet your life it is. You bet your life it is. Honey, you bet your life it's a peel out the watchword. Just peel out the watchword. What's going on? sweet days are gone. Gone to the other side with my encyclopedia.